Ain't it foggy outside? All the planes have been grounded. Ain't the fire inside? Let's all go stand around it. Funny, I've been there, and you've been here. We ain't had no time to drink that beer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sandman podcast. I am your host, Brian W. Tosh, joined as always by our resident hack checker, Oliver Fullington.
Yep.
Our producer and co-host, El Hilo del Hack, Tyler Fullington. And the man whose stories got stories, the hardcore icon. He's got 99 problems, but bananas ain't one. The Sandman. Hack, how the hell's it going today?
Dude, yeah, today's going good, but it's just P. Rose has been hanging over my head because you're just reading so many great, like, listening to Johnny Bench talk about him, listening to this guy talk about him, and just like the crazy, ridiculous stats that I forgot that he actually had. Like, he played 500 games for first base, shortstop, third base, right field, and left field.
That's crazy.
Played 500 games at each one of those positions.
He played shortstop? I didn't know that.
That's crazy. I mean, he's the all-time hits leader. That stat will never get broken.
That could have been at 68 when he was doing that.
Yeah, right.
The all-time games leader with 3,562 games played. That'll never be broken. Switch hitter, obviously, just an incredible baseball player. And also somebody hacked, like, this is something my dad and my mom were talking about. Coming over to the Phillies in 79.
It was the greatest thing ever.
Like, what did that mean for that Phillies team?
Everybody, dude, I'm getting goosebumps right now. We all knew that we needed him to get to the next level.
And that's what he did.
Well, because you got to remember, we lost to Cincinnati and the Dodgers before the NLDS back in those days, like maybe 76, 77, 78, and 79. You know what I mean? So, yeah, getting beat was a big deal.
He was the guy to get the Phillies over the hump there. And
that's what we thought. That's what he did.
And that's what he did in 1980. The Phillies finally win the World Series for the first time ever. And I know you sent it this week in our group text that Boone's going over to make the play and kind of drops it. And Pete's right there backing him up, makes the catch. And he was the first out, I think, in the second out in the ninth inning. Yeah. I mean, just incredible stuff like there. And
he was great.
Obviously, Charlie Hustle, man.
A lot of people don't know that he would get walked and he would sprint down the first base. That was like his big thing back then.
The Brandon Nimmo.
He wouldn't like saunter down there. He would run hard down the first base when he got walked. It was really weird back in those days.
Charlie Hustle, man, and
but all his players there's so many guys that I've listened to this week that just said he was the best baseball guy there was, dude.
And I mean, the Big Red Machine Reds, they were an incredible team in the 70s.
George Foster, Johnny Bench, him. Who's playing short?
Joe Morgan was on the team.
Yeah, Morgan was playing second then.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible teams then. And then coming over to the Phillies, had a little short stint with the Expos, and then he went back to the Reds where he broke the hits record in 1985. Obviously there's a ton of scandal involved with him. The little cork bat, steroids, the underage girls, the gambling, the tax evasion.
Normal shit.
Yeah, normal shit.
Kind of really is.
You're run of the mill.
I mean, because back then, we didn't all know that stuff because there wasn't a 24 hours news cycle.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't have a camera and a computer on them in their pocket. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you heard a lot less about that stuff back then. Like, you might read a little blurb in Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated was huge back then, too. That's where you got a lot of your news. But it wasn't a big deal back then. It was, but it wasn't.
And I got to bring up his involvement in pro wrestling. Those WrestleMania, like, you want to talk about perfectly utilizing a celebrity? When he made that line about, I left 2 tickets for Bill Buckner, but he couldn't bend over for him, and he's in Boston, and it was just like, that's a guy who got it as a celebrity and came in and really delivered in all of those WrestleMania performances. Usually getting involved with Kane. Kane would mess him up. He had the one as the the San Diego Chicken he was dressed up as, and then I think didn't Rikishi give him a stink face at the one WrestleMania 2000? I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, he didn't care. He had no problem like being the butt of a joke.
Right, and he was willing to
Literally.
literally. But as a celebrity, sometimes people would be a little hesitant for that. But obviously, rest in peace, Pete Rose, man.
And he loved wrestling.
Yeah, big wrestling fan. One of his ex-wives actually was promoting wrestling too. I heard Meltzer talking about that this week, which I never knew.
I never heard that.
In the 80s, yeah, apparently out there in Cincinnati. I did not know that.
Makes sense.
Well, the 80s, Ohio, whose town was that? Vern Gagne's town? Was that part of like Minnesota?
It might have been Vern Gagne. Yeah, it might have been Vern Gagne. I'm not really sure who ran the Ohio territory back then, but yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit. Also, man, this one hit me because this was such a formative time for me. No. Dikembe Mutombo passed away as well. Georgetown legend. Fantastic run with the Denver Nuggets in 1994. They were an 8 seed that upset the Sonics.
First time ever, right?
First time ever that an 8 seed beat a 1 seed.
And was Golden State...
Golden State beat the Mavs, and then there was also a Knicks run. The Knicks in the lockout season with Sprewell, they were an 8 seed that went on a run as well.
Okay.
So they were also an 8 seed that were pretty good. But
Man, yeah, Golden State beat Utah, right? That was Baron Davis.
No, they beat the Mavs.
Was it the Mavs?
Yeah, they beat the Mavs. It was Dirk won the MVP that year.
Oh, all right. I thought it was Utah when he dunked
sure it was the Mavs.
when Baron Davis dunked over Karolinko.
Yes.
Was that, yeah.
It was that same team. It was the Baron Davis team.
Okay, all right.
But man, Dikembe Mutombo, obviously so much success with the Hawks. That 0-1 Sixers team. So Theo Ratliff was injured, and it came time a little bit before the trade deadline, a little bit before the All-Star game. They made the trade of Theo Ratliff for Mutombo, and it just kind of fit. And that year at 0-1, we won the MVP, Iverson. Mutombo won the Defensive Player.
Six-man award.
Aaron McKay, six-man. Larry Brown, Coach of the Year. And we had the best record in the East. It was like...
And beat LA the first game, and then they swept us.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you weren't playing against the 0-1 Lakers...
With an Iverson 48 piece.
Step over Tyronn Lue.
Yeah, like if you weren't playing those 0-1 Lakers, that 0-1 Sixers team probably would have had a good chance to beat
And
a team.
they almost beat him game 2, too.
They went to overtime.
Every game was
Shaq fouled out.
Every game was close. They didn't...
Shaq fouled out? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Shaq
Yeah, he did.
fouled out.
He did. He fouled out.
Yeah, he fouled out. It was all Todd McCullough's doing.
That's stiff. Oh my God, what a stiff.
But dude,
Oh, well, he was an iron.
but dude, that was like... I was 10, 11 years old. I was 10, 11 years old, and that was like my first like big basketball. Like I was like, yeah, because Iverson's my favorite basketball player
Same.
of all time. Like, but yeah, that was tough. They had a lot of injuries, and I was listening to Larry Brown was actually on talking about Mutombo, and he was talking about that team, and they were just.
And he got Iverson to buy in and all that.
Yeah, that team was just awesome, man. And Mutombo was the anchor of that defense. They said the one game, I want to say it was a finals game, but I'm not, or no, it was game 7. It was game 7. Mutombo had like 22 points, like 19 rebounds, and 7 blocks.
Against Milwaukee?
I want to say it was against
5 full.
Milwaukee or Toronto, that game 7. And they were just saying now, he was just... They thought they had to get him in order to stop Shaq, basically. Because Theo Ratliff was injured. They didn't know if they were going to get him back, and they were like, we need to do this. Now, it kind of took away a little bit of their depth, but it was... man, he was awesome. And even apparently a better guy off the court. Which,
humanitarian. He tried building hospitals in the Congo.
Well, yeah, because he's from there and he got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, we're still isolated over here back in those days compared to what was going on everywhere else on the planet. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
That's hip to
And
that.
apparently he spoke like 9 languages, but like when he went to college, they were trying to get him into Georgetown. He spoke like 5 different languages. They were trying to get him into Georgetown, but he had to redshirt or something. He was playing like intramural ball at Georgetown. They were saying this is something like Larry Brown was talking about.
Well, that makes sense because to go there to play for John.
Yeah, for John Thompson, and he did so bad on his SATs because they made him do it in English, and actually English was his worst language, even though he spoke 5 at the time. But so he had to do like intramural ball, and he was like dropping like 50 on people like
I can only imagine.
Like Georgetown,
Yeah.
but
The YMCA league, just
Yeah.
jamming on people. Now he was just incredible, great to watch, great personality in the league. Really like transcended the game, and obviously that finger waving was such a great taunt after
Iconic.
plays. Yeah, iconic. I mean, you saw it in commercials, you saw it in everything. Rest in peace to Dikembe Mutombo and Pete Rose, two Philadelphia sports legends.
And also Chris Christopherson was
Chris
in there.
Christopherson, yeah.
The guy that was Good Times, the head of, dude, I got his name.
Amos.
Yeah. Amos, and I put another note down here too for another dude.
Yeah, a lot of people passed away this
Dude,
past week.
Can you imagine Mutombo dying the same day that what's his name dies?
Rose?
Yeah, and it's like, who's gonna remember me?
Yeah, well, I mean, we gave a shout out.
I really
to
wish
folks here.
Castellano was playing that night. I would have made a shit ton of money for a day to homer. I would have put everything I owned on a Castellanos homer that night.
And the other one was Frank Fritz. He was a dude from a lot of people won't know what I'm talking about, but he was a History Channel, and he was one of those pickers. Dude, I love that. I used to love that show.
Oh, the pickers, yeah. But also, Hack, I meant to ask you too about the Atlas Security. Passed
that's
away.
right. I got him down here too.
If you want to speak on that a little bit.
Well, no, it was just Atlas Security was the best, dude. It's like they had us in the locker room, in the club, in the parking lot, out at the ringside, dude. Those guys were all in.
Yeah,
Jersey John.
Jersey Joe, I believe. Oh man, we're botching this. I can't believe.
Yeah,
that.
no, but those dudes were literally almost kind of like older uncles to me, like roaming around. Like those guys were.
Well, because I told everybody keep it, because of him. Everybody in the whole building knew to keep an eye out.
Keeping an eye on me, and that if ever a problem, those guys were handling it. If anybody gave me any shit, they're like, no, like that. He's good. Same as they were always looking
And
after
they were
me.
all tough, dude. They were all tough dudes. And
if anybody ever tried to like jump the rail on you guys, or they would. Forget
it. They got beat to a pulp. No, they beat a couple guys to a pulp.
I'm sure they did. If anybody tried to get smart with you guys, obviously not the best week for us with the Eagles, guys. What the heck happened on Sunday? They did not show up for that game whatsoever, and it looked like just out of nowhere, Ollie. Like right before that game, like I was like, I don't know about this, and then just next thing you know, it was 21-0. Like.
Yeah, I mean, couple muff punts, like put you in bad position. I mean, couple turnovers on offense. It's not really starting great.
No, and then you had a huge hole to dig yourself out of, and Baker was on, the Bucks were on. It was not the Eagles' night.
I mean, the Eagles didn't make it really hard for Baker at all.
No,
you knew what they were going to do was come and get the ball out quick, and we didn't make any adjustment to it. So that's what happens when you don't make in-game adjustment.
Yeah, everything was soft. There was no pass rush. Just nothing really worked in that game whatsoever. And I'm kind of like at this point now with Sirianni, like you don't really do the defense and you don't do the offense. What do you do here? Like, can you tell me what you do here? Like, I don't know what he does.
All right, first stat I'll give you is Lane Johnson. We're like 96-50 when he's a starter. We're like 12-28 when he's not even in the game.
Yes.
Now put that alongside that Smith and AJ aren't in the game. I mean, come on, how much do we expect our offense to do? Not so much that, but our defense had 16 missed tackles, and I think that was in the first half.
Oh, they whiffed on so many big things. Like, I understand.
It's a joke.
We're missing some of our best players, and they're some of the best players in the league, right? I mean, Lane and AJ and Devontae, I mean, they're some of the best players in the league. You're missing them. You're on the road back-to-back weeks. Okay. But that defense came up lifeless, especially after they looked so strong the week before in New Orleans.
Which is surprising. It was surprising to me, at least, that we didn't have a run defense.
Yeah.
Because they were doing whatever they wanted.
Just slashing us for 8 yards every first down.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't win a defensive battle like that.
No.
You just can't.
No,
they were never in second and long, ever.
No, never. And especially with Baker, too. As a smaller quarterback, you got to, get pressure on him, get your arms up, because he's one of the shortest guys in the league as quarterback.
Dude, he was getting the ball, it was
so
like
quick,
1, 2,
so quick.
1, 2, out. 1, 2 and a half, out.
And, for a moment
getting
there,
out.
we really had a chance to go in and, come back and make it a one-score game, and then Jalen has the fumble with the play behind him, and it's just
How about the dude that freaking blocked the dude into the punt returner?
We had it happen twice.
And he goes, "Oh, I thought I was allowed to do that after the game." Ty, who was the kid?
Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah, dude, how can you be a professional football player and not know that that's illegal for you to block a guy into your punt returner?
Yeah. And I said, if they ask you, lie. I'd rather you lie. Literally, if you didn't know that was a rule, I'd rather you just be like, hey, listen, I tried to block him past him, and he happened to run in. Like, lie.
Yeah.
Like, you literally. You can't say I didn't know that was a rule.
I know.
What do you mean?
I remember years ago, McNabb the tie. Is that what you were thinking about?
Against the Bengals.
He didn't know that they could have ties, and it's like, again, the same situation. Just lie about it, please. It'll make my week better.
Literally, lie.
Like, don't ruin my week, man.
You're a professional athlete and not know that, and not know every single solitary thing that goes on.
That's your job.
Especially if you're on special teams, you should know that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's your job.
You're a blocker. You're blocking the gunners.
Yeah, didn't the guy try and say that it was legal in freaking college or something?
I didn't hear that.
I don't know.
We did have the 2-point return for a touchdown, which was nice.
That was a sweet play.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Have you seen that?
Maybe one other time.
That kept us in the game.
It did keep us in. Like I was saying, it made it a 2-score game. It was 16 points at that point. I mean, at that point, the game was within reason that they could come back. The only other redeeming thing of that game, Hack, I know we talked about this after week 1. Tom Brady is an announcer. This is the first time I really got to listen to him for a full game. And even though it was a completely horrible game, I thought Brady was a pretty good announcer.
Love him as an announcer. I wanted to punch him in the face at the end of that game, just the way shit was going. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he
was waving to the fans in Tampa.
Well, no, Brady's like pointing things out that the Eagles are doing wrong, and Hack's like, Brady, I love you, but just shut the fuck up right now. Like, literally, he said that, literally verbatim. And yeah, Tom. He's going to get a rapport with the dude. It's going to take time. It's going to take time a little bit. He's too knowledgeable not to be good at that.
Yeah.
And Brady's good at. He wants to be good at everything that he does. He's not
a
trying to be
dude.
right. So he's going to go out there and he's going to do his best in order to be good at that job. The Eagles, for me, Vic Fangio is under the microscope. Nick Sirianni is under the microscope. Jalen Hurts is under the microscope. I saw a stat yesterday that said the Eagles wide receivers have created the second most separation in the entire NFL.
What?
And Jalen Hurts is 25th in accuracy.
So he's not noticing the guys that are open.
Throwing it too late.
Not trusting himself, not making quick decisions.
Dude, you gotta remember, he's reading he doesn't have Casey helping his ass, calling everything out for the offensive line and everything. He's back there, he's never behind freaking center. He's always back like 3 yards, and he's scanning the fucking field, and I don't think he knows how to compute everything that quick yet.
Listen, obviously missing AJ, obviously missing Devontae, missing Lane is huge. I mean, take the 2 top wide receivers, and not only 2 top wide receivers, 2 top 15 receivers in the NFL.
Right around there easily.
And the best, that's an argument.
No, I agree.
Right, I'm not trying to go too high and say 2 top 10. There's a lot of really good receivers in the league, so it's hard for me to pull that. And arguably the best tackle in the NFL. So listen, but that stat came from all first 4 weeks. Now AJ's been missing for 2 of them, and but receivers are obviously still getting separation. So listen, everybody's under the microscope right now. The NFL as a whole is completely out of whack. Everybody's teams are. Who knows what's going on right now? The Minnesota Vikings are the number 1 team in the league.
Sam Darnold MVP.
Right. So, we're just gonna have to see.
We're gonna have to see. And guess what, guys? I'm still alive in Survivor. I'm in the final 4.
I was gonna ask you.
I'm in the final 4.
Final 4.
I'm rolling with the San Francisco 49ers this week.
Who they play?
The Cardinals at home.
All right.
Yeah, just remember now, I'm not doing that next year.
You're out.
Well, no. Well, think about it. 150 people. There's 5 left. There's 4 left in the first fucking month of the season.
It wasn't like, dude.
It went
Back
longer
in the
last
day, it
year.
was never like that.
This
You were
year,
in it last year.
you have to
Yeah.
admit, this year is completely on its ass.
I've never seen it like this. We've
It's
been doing it.
because nobody's playing preseason games.
But
That's
nobody played
exactly-
preseason games last year. And what did it last to like week 9, 10 or
Yeah, it
something
lasted
last year?
around that, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
probably around week 10 last year.
You get your money's
good. We
worth
can
out
do
of it.
We can do. Yeah, oh, yeah.
You got your money's worth out of it.
Literally, yeah. And you took the easy road and took a bye the first week.
So that's the way to go.
Yeah, but I took Kansas City against
week 2.
Cincinnati week 2, which took balls.
We'll
and then
see.
you jinxed me by you persuaded me into taking the Bengals.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Dude,
Hopefully.
how did we know the dude from what? And look, he had another unbelievable week this week.
Yeah.
Jaden
That
Daniels
kid's
is
looking
killing
like he's
it.
going to be the MVP.
If you remember when we gave our football predictions, I told you guys the
Yeah,
Commanders.
yeah,
What did I tell you?
Yeah.
I told you the Commanders. I
He's
liked
not
them.
putting himself over.
Never
I
heard,
am putting
never
myself
heard of
over.
him.
All right, Benedict Arnold.
I am putting myself over, and I was down on the Eagles too. I'm just saying. All right.
Yeah, we hold receipts, Judas.
Yeah, we Come on, man. I'm a Philly guy. All right, guys. This week on the show, we all watched Netflix Mr. McMahon documentary. So this was by Chris Smith, who did Tiger King. If you guys remember that during the pandemic, if you guys ever watched Tiger King,
Yeah, that
was
was
something else.
Yeah,
And,
but something else happened during that too. Didn't they get buried afterwards because they were doing something crazy there, cruelty to animals? There was something there.
oh, they had a lot of stuff. The people
Yeah,
that were
it
doing
ended up
the
being like a huge animal cruelty thing.
Yeah.
Shit show.
Yeah, but the guy who did the documentary, Chris Smith, who did this Mr. McMahon documentary with The Ringer, Bill Simmons, and David Shoemaker, came out on Netflix last Wednesday or Thursday, and it was the 4th highest viewed show on Netflix last week out of everything that they got
Really?
going on Netflix. So a lot of people check this
Well,
out.
dude,
Well, they're
Netflix
going
is
to-
pushing it hard. You know what I'm saying? That because Vince is on. Sorry, not Vince, because WWE's on Netflix now, so they're pushing it hard. So I'm surprised it's not even higher.
Yeah, well, they start in January, so they're not quite on there yet, but they are going to.
Well,
Netflix
reruns
Raw.
of The Office or something probably beat it. Who knows?
No, it was there's the Menendez brothers show.
Oh, that new
yeah,
one.
that
yeah.
came out.
That's like
Yeah.
the biggest thing right now.
And what's
but-
that new show with Liev Schreiber? The Perfect Couple or
okay. I
whatever
don't-
that
yeah.
just came out.
Not a
That's,
big like Netflix watcher, but
neither am I, but I always find myself on it occasionally.
so checked out the Mr. McMahon documentary. So overall, like first thoughts on it, I guess. It wasn't a lot that I didn't already know, and I think maybe I wasn't the biggest target for it, being like a wrestling nerd fan, right? Like I think I know a lot of these stories and controversies and things like that. So it wasn't a lot of ground that I previously didn't know. So for me, at least, I didn't love it. But I think there was also some things that were missing. I think some people's voices were missing that should have been interviewed in it. First of all, Jim Ross. Jim Ross was not included in the documentary, and I don't know if they interviewed him or didn't have him.
Could it have been a conflict of interest with AEW?
No, I don't think so. He just give the stories of the
Okay.
time that he was there.
I got you.
Yeah, but was he healthy at that point too?
That's true. I don't know the filming schedule and
Because it was
stuff.
like 21, 22.
Right, but he was like a lieutenant, and if you want to look at the
Oh
Vince
yeah,
McMahon,
Jim Ross was the man.
Jim Ross was essentially like the general manager who put together the
made
team.
the pays up for everybody.
Yeah, and he also was the guy signing all the talent. So when they made that big run in 97, 98, Jim Ross was the guy that brought a lot of those guys in there.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that at all.
Yeah, like he was one of them that I was like, man, I can't believe you didn't have JR on this. And the other guys that were missing were, other people that were high up in the organization at different points. Vince Russo, just completely... Briscoe, absolutely. Briscoe, Michael Hayes. And obviously, I mean, I'm sure...
Michael was there, worked into the head. He was the head of SmackDown by the time I got fired there in like 2009.
And someone who was in the organization from 95 till present day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like,
they may have declined.
right, they might not have wanted to participate.
I hear that.
But Bruce Pritchard was included, Triple H. I mean, like, people that are, interviews in there. I'm just saying those are people that were all not included that I feel like if you want to get the story and you really want to turn over every rock, those are voices that you should have talked to in this process. So I don't know if they tried to or there was conflicts or whatever, but they just weren't in
Maybe
it.
they did, but there was a redundancy factor.
That's true, right? I mean, they might have had already that perspective and stuff. I guess from the start of it, when Vince said the one quote, and I want to get the quote itself because this thing to me was like, Vince said, "No one really knows him, and he still hasn't figured himself out." And that to me, like, that was in the episode 1, and it like really kind of resonated throughout the whole thing because I don't know if Vince McMahon knows who he is or if he's honest in who he is or anything like that because he's lived in this fantasy world that he's created his entire adult life, and I don't even really think he knows who he is.
Do you have any basic psychology of your basis on this planet when nobody ever says the word N-O to you?
Right.
You have to lose all perspective of general life on this planet.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah, and this takes me back to something that you said, and we were talking about this when some of the more salacious allegations came out back
Absolute
when they
power corrupts absolutely.
That is the quote that you said.
It just does, dude.
And it's so true because you create this world, right? And he's inherited the business that his father had.
Well, I don't know about inherited. The way that he took it.
Well, he did take it, but if you listen to the quote that Linda said when they interviewed Linda in it, and she said, "We were robbing Peter to pay Paul." So basically they had to make balloon payments, but they were using the profits of the company to then pay back his dad. So it's kind of like they basically gave it to them, essentially. So, I mean, that's giving it to you. It's like I'm giving you a loan that I know you're going to be able to pay.
Nah, semantics, but you still had to take the ball and run with it. Like, you still had to...
Oh, the vision that he had. Like, in order to... The merchandising and the marketing, and, you know, episode 1, it's like... It's Hulk Hogan, but it's also the talent acquisition. And to me, this documentary was more almost like a history of WWE documentary. Because I know the story of Vince McMahon... You can't tell the story of Vince McMahon without the story of the WWE, the history of the WWE, but... To me, like all the talent acquisition they were making in the 80s and then Hogan, like associating yourself with Hogan, and I think it was Meltzer who said, like, they never would have been as successful as they were without Hogan. Like, Hogan was the guy.
Well, they said,
he thinks it would have, Vince would have failed.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Hogan.
Yeah. I mean, Hogan was huge. Like, I mean, Hack, what was it like? Talk to me about, like, the 80s, like, when Rocky 3 came out and, like, wrestling's getting, like, a level.
Dude, Rocky 3 came out, I thought it was the greatest movie that ever happened ever, just because there was a pro wrestler in it. You know what I'm saying? And we were getting, like, and I'm not even in the business, but I wanted the notoriety of it because I love the business so much.
Yeah.
And at that point, Hulk Hogan was like, what to you? Like, how were you finding out?
Nothing
Like,
to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he was a heel before they turned him, baby, to take the title
in WWF.
Yeah, I remember all that. That was the best part about the show was I liked it whenever they had a scene, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy, I remember him. Oh my God, there was like all these people that I forgot that I used to love when I was a kid. Yeah, that was the best part of the show for me.
Yeah, like the clips and everything, the footage they had, the way it was presented and put together was, I thought, really well done. But the one thing, too, this quote that Vince said that was, like, just stuck out to me is he wished that he could tell us the real stories because holy shit. But he said he'll give us enough that he's semi-interesting. I don't want anyone to really know me. And that, to me, stuck out to me, too, because I truly wonder, you know, his family, I feel like they don't know him. His people in his company, I feel like they don't know him. I don't know if anybody.
He doesn't know him.
He doesn't know.
Just like you said.
Yeah.
Well, he knows who he is, but he's 3 different people.
Yeah.
In the way I
it's almost like self-induced schizophrenia.
It kind of is, man. And I don't know if it was episode 1 or one of the later-ish episodes where they touched on, like, you know, the abuse that he had as a child. You know, physical abuse.
That's why, well, when you want, nobody wants to know me. I mean, do you want to fess up to that to your mom, like, abusing you?
Sexually
all right, your dad beat you up. That was every kid. Dude, when I was in 7th grade in 1976, a lot of my friends were still getting beat up by their fathers, like straight beat up. They come to school with a black eye. You know what I mean? Because that's how it was back then. But to be abused by your mother sexually as a boy is unheard of. That's like 1% of all the abuse cases ever.
Yeah, that shocked me because that doesn't
insane.
happen. Yeah, that doesn't happen.
And I don't even understand what that equates to.
I don't think we know, and I don't think he's ever really touched on it beyond like a little bit in a Playboy
interview. So why would anybody want to let you know that in you? That'd be a dark part of my past that I would never tell anybody ever. I don't care if my wife, kids, anything.
Right, and maybe
I don't think you
Because
probably
you're
have.
embarrassed.
I was going to
no, but I
say
think you have to-
embarrassment factor of
Even though you had you're a kid and you had no recourse to do it.
right, but it's like you said, it's the 1 in a million case that doesn't happen, and you're the
Not with a
one.
mom and a son, dude.
I
It just
think
doesn't
you have to, if you have that darkness past, you have to get it out of you. You got to seek therapy. You got to go through these, like, you have to do things like that because
Easier said
Or,
than done.
whoa, Vince doesn't say that. Vince says you push it to the back of your head and you move forward.
well, then you see why, like, ultimately,
Multiple times.
I know, but it's a cliche, but hurt people, man, and
abusers become abusers.
Abusers become
Absolutely.
abusers, and that's ultimately that to me is the story of his story of that part of the story in this, where it's like, you know, and we'll get to some of that later, but like when you're going through these things and you're seeing like, well, how could, you know, when we saw the shocking Janelle Grant stuff that came out. And you're looking at like the text and some of the salacious details in there, and it's just like disgusting. And you're like, how can this happen? And you kind of see like, well, maybe it happened because. And I'm not trying to make excuses for
No,
anybody's
it's
behavior.
not an excuse, but there is a what's the right word I'm looking for? There's like a basis that you can draw from and maybe be like, oh man, like that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like not like a reason, not an excusable reason, but man, it was that messed up to maybe that's what drew that out of a person or something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
man.
but yeah, I think for him, like we said, he doesn't know who. I think he was maybe 3 different people. He was Vince McMahon, the business owner. He was Vince McMahon, the character. He was Vince McMahon, the husband, and he might even have been a fourth. Vince McMahon, the father.
Yep.
You know, whatever. And then when you're dealing with all 4 of those on a daily basis, and then they all run into each other, you don't know who to be, what time you got to be that person, when you're going to be.
I mean, you could be 4 different guys in 45-minute period.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in the locker room and somebody's asking you a question about the business. Then you're going over something about your character.
And then you have
run
to
into
be
your
dad.
wife. Yeah, then you got to be dad, and then you got like
The other thing too was that it's kind of left out too is that like his father was not in his life at all until he was 12 or 13, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And that to me was, you know, man, like that's
And never gave him a reason why.
Nothing.
Never like
Was
they
never
just
even talked about, never hinted at anything.
nothing. And
they
again,
they
it's-
just met and was like, okay,
It
we're
was
moving forward.
It was a different day and age back then, where he was like, "Oh, remember?" He's like, "I saw my dad, and I was expecting like this big thing because it was my dad." And he like brushed me off, like he patted me on the top of the head.
yeah, like
basically.
good to see you,
and he
son.
talks about that
But
later.
I'm sure for him, it's like, I'm just happy to be somewhere where I'm not going to be abused.
Right. And he talks about that later, was that the only time his dad ever told him that he loved him was when his dad was on his deathbed. And it's like, man.
That's the way it was back in those days, dude. It just was. Just
Yeah.
men weren't. It wasn't all this feeling shit and stuff like that, dude. It just wasn't like that.
And it was kind of the same way when you watched throughout the documentary with Vince
Him and Shane. Oh, we'll get to that
It's
dynamic in a bit.
But none of
because-
my friends were like to me. I didn't have the dad. I had no dad that I grew up with. You know, I had a stepdad and stuff like that. But that made it stronger to me that I'm going to be a good dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to be like it's something else that, you know what I mean? I wanted to start my own family and be my own dad.
Yeah. No.
And there's instances like in our relationship where that comes up, where you're super caring and you're super helpful and super like providing and
But
everything.
I've been an asshole for a couple of years, boy.
And there's a bunch of times where you're a fucking asshole, but it's that time where you're on your own, living on yourself, providing for yourself when you're 15, 16 years old. You know, like there's also that aspect of you that, you know, comes out. So it's like breaking a barrier, you know,
Okay,
like
true.
there's like being that guy and then there's being the other guy, and it's like it's hard to turn off and turn on, you know what I'm saying, like with our relationship, because sometimes it's that guy, sometimes it's the other guy, and you know you just gotta muddle the line, like find the line, and it can be difficult.
That's interesting,
you know?
perspective of like growing up with a wrestling dad, like that, you know.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And that's like kind of like that's kind of like ultimately the thing is like, to me, it's like, how do you compartmentalize all these different things in this fake world that's actually real? It's just
And
such
right,
a
not even
strange
to mention
business.
that he's a character
Especially
on
when
TV.
you're blurring the lines as much as they are.
Every time. So, all right, I got to get to this one thing too. Vince got his start in the business when Vince Senior, somebody was trying to hold up his dad for more money, and then Vince told him. Vince Senior tells Vince Junior, "Yeah, you go be the announcer now." And Vince was not really the best color commentator, but that's how most of us got our introduction to Vince McMahon. Hack, any memories of like growing up, Vince McMahon? Did you have awareness that he was the promoter's or promoter's son when you were watching it?
No, not when I was young.
Right.
No idea.
Okay. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting, and I guess I shouldn't be that surprised about it, was when Vince Sr. wanted out of the business, Gorilla Monsoon was actually his first choice because he was already a partner.
That was interesting.
That was something I never knew before, and then I'm like, it makes sense to me because Gorilla was obviously, he had a piece of it. If things went one way, Gorilla could have been owning the WWF territory, but Vince obviously put that to rest.
And honestly, WWF may have never turned into WWE. You know
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying?
it would have. I don't think it would have. I mean,
That's a good point, too.
Not to say Gorilla didn't have any really good wrestling ideas or anything like that, but like to have the vision that Vince Jr. had is
Right.
just an incredible.
But he was probably half-assed Booker then at that point anyway.
Vince
Right,
Jr.
but
No, Gorilla.
Oh, Gorilla. Yes,
Right, but the changes in the path in order to be like
But
getting
I'm-
talent from different territories
production
and
and really
all that.
pushing on it and
Yeah.
seeing the vision of
Who
it.
knows where wrestling would be at this point?
Yeah, who knows? You had the territory system, which
We might not be here right now.
we might
The
not be.
butterfly
Yeah,
effect.
yeah, we might not be. I mean,
Butterfly effect.
that's what I want to ask you too, Heck. Because if let's say Vince failed as a promoter, do you feel as if wrestling, because cable television was taken over in the 80s, right? And you had Crockett on TBS, and you had Mid South, and you had the AWA, and you had the Von Erichs down there as well in Texas and everything. If not Vince, who do you think would have made the push nationally?
Well, the what's the name was coming to Philly then. The first time I was at WCW or whatever.
Crockett? You're talking, talking Flair and Dusty and
the one that I was in the audience, with my face like stink.
You're talking about, yeah.
That was the only time I was ever at a show in Philadelphia besides the Spectrum.
Okay, so that was at WCW, NWA.
Yeah, they were at the Civic Center.
Yes, the Civic Center for Halloween Havoc. We're going to do that on a future episode coming
Yeah,
up.
but it would have had to been them to step into the shoes.
Okay, I mean, it makes sense. You had a lot of the distribution. You're on cable television, and you had a ton of star power and talent. I mean, if not,
Dude, who knows? Ted Turner could have been Vince McMahon.
right? I mean,
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
yeah, I mean
Or
that makes sense.
Bischoff, whatever.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me. It's just kind of like when they bought the company in '90, they were kind of just, and they talk about this in the documentary. It was kind of just like this weird thing that never took off really because they were always trying to be like a WWF light version, and it just didn't really ever take off until Bischoff, and they brought Hogan in, and they did all those changes in '94 and
But
'95.
Ted was a wrestling fan.
Ted was a wrestling fan because
it.
wrestling was always a program staple of his network and TBS, and something that he always had on television, and really was a big fan at the end of the day of the product. I guess the other thing too is just kind of like the merchandising and the vision of WWF and everything. And they talked about Vince taking a vacation with Linda and saying he wasn't going to work. And then he said that's where he came up with the idea for the first WrestleMania. Can you talk to me what it was like, if you remember the first WrestleMania being on closed circuit or
I
anything
thought
like
it was
that?
the greatest thing that had ever happened. I think me, Ty, we could have been in.
Ty was not alive yet. We've talked about this before.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I don't remember.
No, but do you
I
remember?
was just a twinkle in
I'm
the
trying
eye.
to- What year was it?
It was 1985. First WrestleMania.
Roots watched it together.
It was closed circuit television, so I don't know if you were like sitting in the Spectrum or something watching
I
it,
don't
or.
know. I probably watched it probably at Rubes' house.
Do you remember anything with like Mr. T coming in and doing wrestling? Because like I feel like that was huge.
Oh,
And,
yeah, it was huge.
and Cyndi Lauper as well.
Yeah, all that was huge.
With your boy Lou Albano.
No, but all that
Shout out, Lou.
was huge.
All right,
All that, the cross promotion is really what changed everything.
Yeah, getting on MTV.
The cross promotion changed the whole.
Yeah, getting on
fucking world.
the late
mean,
night
dude,
shows.
yeah.
Everything.
Didn't he have freaking who's the piano player? Liberace was there.
Liberace. Muhammad Ali.
You know, which makes no sense, Liberace even being there. But Liberace, you guys, people got to understand, there wasn't like all these concerts everywhere and stuff like that. It was still, there was a lot of old school people freaking alive. Liberace was the man. Like, that guy got paid more money per appearance fucking doing a show than anybody back in the
That's
days.
Crazy. And they
unbelievably crazy.
They also had the clip of Andy Warhol, the famous artist.
It is where he looks like he's wearing a wig.
Like a tube?
Yeah, it looks like one of the Stooges.
And then you see Tony Atlas talking about it, and he's like, all of us are thinking, like, what the hell is Vince thinking? Like,
I know.
what does he have us doing out here?
They're doing all these.
Nobody sees the vision.
Yeah.
Only him.
Yeah,
And
they're doing all these skits. And
How about Tony Atlas's getup, by the way, with the cut
rocking
sleeve?
the cut sleeve and the tie. I mean,
That's a boss ass move, dude.
Yeah,
Like the
Tony
cut
Atlas.
sleeve with the tie, that was phenomenal.
yeah, the vision.
living the gimmick.
The vision of him.
I'd
Vince.
probably be the most honest dude that they were interviewed in that whole 6
I thought so too. I thought Tony actually was, especially.
100%.
We'll get to some of his comments too, but I thought he was genuine in things that he said.
Yeah.
Whereas, that was.
And he'd put him.
He was there forever.
He would dig him a little bit, but he would also put him over. He'd be like, "Hey, listen, you gotta." He might have been this, but you also got to give him credit for this.
Right.
You know,
The greatest promoter
he was
ever.
right. He was fair.
Right, and I think ultimately, and I don't know if it was David Shoemaker or somebody said, like, and this is something you just struggle with as a wrestling fan, and you try to learn the history of stuff, is you got to understand, when these guys are talking, you don't know if they're being honest or telling the truth, or if they're working, or if they're... It's so confusing for outside people. It's like... You don't know when guys being genuine and being honest.
What agendas...
Dude, I've been in the wrestling business my entire life. Not in the wrestling business, but around the wrestling business my entire life. And I am always on my toes as in if everything is a work. Living in this household is a constant work. Literally. Being around Hack at all is a constant work. Wrestlers are consistently working you, no matter what's... It doesn't matter if it's, hey, I'm taking the trash out, or, everything is a work with a wrestler, so that's 100% accurate.
Yeah,
literally.
You don't know if this is like actually true, or if it's real, or if there's a hidden agenda behind it, or whatever.
I don't know if that's like so much now with like the new people in the business. You know what I'm saying? But I know from Hack and just being around everybody from his era, quote unquote, or whatever. Everybody's working everybody. It doesn't matter if you're going to take a piss, go to the gas station to get a burrito, or...
I never worked anybody in my life.
or whatever it is. Everything is a constant work. You always got to be on your toes when you're around them.
Heck, I got to ask you about this, too. So when Vince took over the territory, their champion was Bob Backlund. Now, talk to me what it was like for you as Bob Backlund as a champion.
Blah, blah, blah.
You weren't a fan.
Jeez, he was a nobody. He was a wet dish rag.
But then you say he was like the biggest badass.
Oh,
though,
no,
like,
nobody could beat him. That's the thing. Vince, because you got to understand, Vince is trying to pull talent from other places around the United States, right? Vince doesn't want somebody to pull a shoot on his champion and take his belt. So he's like, I'm putting it on the badass, and I know there's nobody that can really beat this guy.
That's crazy.
Which
That's
makes total sense.
Yeah, it
So
does.
it's like if somebody really tries to beat him up, it ain't happening.
Not like Mule, not like
Mueller and Wendy Richter.
Yeah,
Oh, God, we'll get to that. Hold on.
That's a straight fight.
The other thing that was really interesting when Vince was talking about like looking for a guy to replace Backlund as like the guy for the Vision was discussing Dusty Rhodes as being the guy that they ran with.
Dusty turned him down.
Can you imagine again the butterfly effect? If
Why did Dusty turn it down?
I mean, he was already a sold out attraction everywhere. Why would you?
He's
want
working on top with Flair.
Right, and this is a new business, and you don't know where it's going.
And I'm doing Japan too, and I got to give that up to do this. It's like, you got to like again to us now with hindsight, looking back from 2024 on it, we're like, man, what did you pass up on?
See, like me watching this, I'm like learning a lot.
Yeah.
Like I knew a lot, but I'm also learning a lot, especially like in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, and so it was really interesting to me, the whole thing.
And even me, I was still learning because I don't go like super far back. I know a lot of things,
But it was
I-
a very fair portrayal that I think that they did from top to bottom.
And
Oh,
they,
yeah,
and
I
they,
do too.
And they put it on Chic, correct?
Yes,
Because
they
the
go to
time
Chic.
period, and such a smart thing by
It's the
Vince.
same
way he-
exact
yeah.
thing that Paulie did with me, Mikey, and Austin. Austin came in from WCW. Paul didn't want Austin to beat me. So he was going to have Mikey beat me in the three-way, and then Austin was going to beat Mikey, so I didn't have to lose to Austin.
A transitional
I
champion.
lose to Mikey. Austin signs with WWE. You know, darn, I get the belt back 30 days later.
A
It
transitional
was the
champion.
exact same.
Right, so it went from Backlund to Chic, Chic to Sergeant Slaughter, Sergeant Slaughter.
No. It went Backlund, Sheik, Hogan. Slaughter was later on.
Yeah.
Slaughter,
Oh, okay.
Slaughter-
All right, I'm mixing that up.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, all right.
Slaughter beat Warrior for the belt. This is after Hogan cooled
Gotcha.
off.
All right,
And then
all
you go
right.
back to Hogan. So Hulkamania beats Iron Sheik. What was talk? Because I wasn't really alive and watching. What was
I
the
thought it was great.
what was the Hulkamania era
We
like?
hated the Sheik so bad. I wasn't in love with Hulkamania.
You weren't. It
I
wasn't.
wanted to
But
see
you
somebody
hated,
beat him up.
the Chic?
Well, yeah, because you got to understand. It's like the times, the way the times.
I know,
work.
and the
so
way-
funny
and
that
And
the
the
way
whole news is burying.
Well, and the way they explained it was so good, and Vince was so smart to push the American cultural thing on it. Like,
Yeah.
it's the foreign guy, the foreign bad guy, and we need a great,
hero.
a badass
Whether it was
American
a
good guy.
Russian, an Iranian, a Canadian, whatever.
And the Sheik, the Iron Sheik, was such a good worker too. Like if you go watching some of those,
Dude, he was
brawls-
an Olympic wrestling champion.
Yeah. If you watch some of those brawls he had with Sergeant Slaughter in like the early '80s and stuff,
Good stuff.
those matches are awesome. So like I know we look at
Oh,
the
they
Iron
were
Sheik.
selling out. Oh, wow.
Wasn't the
Huge
Sheik
business.
like the head of their military or something at one point?
I don't
Or he
know
was like,
about
I'm
their-
not sure
or
what
he
his
was like
actual
a
about that.
credentials.
trainer or
Again,
something.
I don't know what wrestlers claim or the actual
Yeah,
truth.
right.
He was
I
a
just,
legit
I
bad
I think I
dude.
got that
This
from the
out.
Sheik like HBO documentary
Yeah.
or something.
He was a
but-
bad dude though.
Yeah.
Legit.
Oh, dude, no. Yeah,
He looked like a
super
bad
bad.
dude.
Vern Gagne trained him. I mean, he was trained
Dude,
down there.
Jack.
Yeah.
He never, well, he told me when he was a kid that he never worked out with weights. Those clubs were real.
Oh, when he's swinging those
Nobody else
clubs.
could do those clubs.
Those clubs are. I just saw.
Everybody
I remember
tried.
you telling me that, Hack. Nobody could do the club.
I just saw a clip of a young Ultimate Warrior trying to swing him and the Iron Sheik swinging him for a territory, and the Warrior couldn't do it. It was crazy.
So, but that was part of his trend, dude. That all comes from the tip of your toes through your core. To swing those clubs. A lot of people won't know what I'm talking about. But also, the only other thing that the Sheik trained with when he was young, before he came to America, and a lot of people don't even know what these things are. There used to be in every gymnasium when I was in like 7th grade, and we would go play basketball
pegs?
in other places. Those wooden bars those wooden pegs that were on the side of the wall.
Oh, what, the peg?
There-
Yeah, the peg board.
Yeah, there'd be like 15 of them, and then the top one would stick out. That's all he would work out with: the clubs and those and that wall unit.
wow, that's pretty crazy. And he was jacked up
And Olympic champion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the first episode, they go over WrestleMania 1, and, like, they really were banking everything on that. Like, that is it. Like, whether or not he inherited the business from his dad, kind of, and, like, a payment thing. But they went all in on that first WrestleMania, and just having the idea of creating, like, a Super Bowl, like, a yearly event like that, where it's a culmination of things. It's crazy that, like, wrestling had a lot of big events locally and stuff in regional territories, but to have the vision to do that big one,
Especially annually,
yeah,
is like, how are you even thinking of that?
Yeah.
Like, and
Well,
have the
because
vision
you're
for
a
that.
looking forward kind of person, and you're realizing that this pay-per-view shit is going to change the business.
yeah. I mean, it's
Literally.
it's seeing where things are going, and then the next couple steps, and that's one thing.
Straight brilliance.
That's one thing I will say about Vince and the WWE. It's like they always have their eye on what's next, and like the WWE network was 10 years ago, before streaming was really a thing.
Yeah, that's
And-
crazy.
And then they knew that, and they also knew the rights fees, right? Knowing that we can make our money with these rights fees, and knowing that, and then splitting them up through all the different companies you get the checks from. So, like, that kind of vision of a company is just like, it's nothing else. And I mean, that's some of the WWE vision of Vince McMahon stuff, where it's just like, as a promoter, you can't hate. I mean, honestly. Hack, I got to ask you about John Stossel in 2020. Did you have any memories of that?
I loved him getting bitch slapped.
I
loved it.
In 1985.
It was big deal on Sunday night. That was on Sunday night, like prime time, like 60 Minutes, 2020, whatever the hell it was.
Kayfabe, it's still kind of a thing. It's not a thing.
No, it's a real thing.
Okay, it's
I was still believing it.
In 85?
Dude, I believed it up until I was like 13 or 14.
Okay, so you were still buying in.
Yeah.
And in 80...
In like 75, 76, I started to get smarter.
Man, he slaps him... And it just, I mean,
smacks the shit.
He smacks the shit out of him, and he literally sued them, successfully sued them, and so did Belzer.
But honestly, it was worth that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's fucked up.
Well, no, just for it being on like headline news on a Sunday night,
the notoriety of it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was worth that, and to still kind of keep kayfabe like that.
Yeah, all wrestling fans were loving it.
And Hogan, when he chokes out Richard Belzer.
Dude, that, I don't know. That guy I don't know how you choke out a dude in like 9 seconds.
Well, it's a slippery. You choke out anybody if you put it on right.
In 9 seconds, dude.
I mean, Hogan
you can have your hand around somebody's throat and choking that dude, and it's going to take you like 2 minutes to choke him out.
He slipped right out, and you could see his limp.
Oh, he hit his head. His head like, bump.
Oh my god.
And he was dripping.
Well, yeah, you saw a blood mark on the. Yeah.
Oh my god. And Hogan was like,
Vince was bumming.
And Hogan was like, "Oh man, I wonder if we're going to be in trouble, brother." I'm like, man, might be a little bit, dude. But yeah, that was interesting stuff. And then Meltzer did, like I said, Meltzer told the story that if Mania failed, they were in financial ruin, and that's crazy to like push all your chips in a Vision and stuff like that.
I mean, he had to do it.
He had to do it, and it absolutely was just a gigantic success. And everything kind of took off from there. And then episode 2 starts off with Vince McMahon and them doing Stand Back at the Slammies, that horrible like musical kind of thing. And you're watching that, you're like, man, what the hell is this crap, dude?
You gotta understand what year it was, though. Also,
it's 1986.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's a different day and age.
No, I know. And then. Hack, talk to me about Saturday night's main event. Like, what did that mean, like, culturally for them at the point in time where they were at?
I don't know. It was like everything. It was like, because people were staying home, it's like they're watching that, and then they're watching SNL, you know what I'm saying? So it was like a great time slot.
I mean, Saturday Night TV was prime. That was it.
Appointment television.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
And to get featured on that at that point in time, I mean, you can't beat it. Like,
there's
I mean, that's
nothing bigger, probably.
Right. Like, that's culturally to be involved with that is just incredible.
Yeah.
The one thing too, though, and this is kind of like the business has changed now, right? We're talking about where house shows are being removed and everything, pretty much. 7 days a week on the road. I mean, Jesus, like pushing.
No, and they don't say twice on Sundays. You were doing a matinee. And then doing another show later on that night.
So you'd be talking about like
8 times a week.
If you did Hershey, you do a show over in Philly later,
or you go to New York,
or you
like do, because Philly was Saturday night. You do a Sunday afternoon in Hershey, or what was the other one where they were doing TV that time? You said where was
Hamburg.
Yeah, Hamburg, and then you would go to New York.
I mean, that's just ungodly. It's a total mistreatment of the talent. It's pushing people to their absolute limits physically, and like.
Dude.
Like, it's insane.
Okay,
it's insane.
first of all,
absolutely insane.
I know, but you guys got to understand, freaking matches weren't like they are now.
Okay,
Your matches were literally 5 bumps in a match.
Okay.
Yes, but still.
But
talk
the
about
road,
travel back then, though.
The road time,
yeah,
the partying, the wear and tear.
It's not like you're sitting in an Escalade going to wherever. You're in a God knows what.
You're 5 to a car. You're popping pills. You're drinking. You're doing whatever, and it's not
just on the road with
and
boys.
You're not with your family, and it's like.
And you might have a broken rib, but you ain't gonna go and do a doctor for it because you can't stop.
And if you stop,
because you have no insurance, and you're not going to get paid if you stop.
And if you stop, somebody's taking your spot.
Right.
Like it's a horrible setup for the business, and it's when you look at those guys, Hack, in the 80s and 90s that passed away, man, and passed away young, dude. It's like I'm not blaming Vince.
That's the 90s, not the 80s.
Well, some of those 80s guys were in the 90s too.
Yeah, all the guys started dropping in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like 30 of them in like 5 years.
But still, the young deaths in wrestling, and that's one thing I will give them credit for, is they're providing rehab now for anybody that's ever worked in the company, and they do drug tests.
They paid for mine a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing that they do. Like honestly, and they did that post Benoit and Eddie after those things, and so like I do commend them for that, because I think it really has helped a lot of people out, yourself included, and it's like I
didn't do shit for me.
Stop.
Dude, because I can always stop drinking myself for 6 months here, 4 months there. But dude, rehab is every person. There was not one person out of the 30 from the first day that I was in there was in there for less than their third time. 5 people 10 times. Another 5 people 20. They live in rehab their whole lives.
Well, that doesn't mean that
it's an effort. It's something.
Oh yes, it's an effort.
It's an effort.
It's an effort, but it's just doesn't work. Rehab doesn't work.
Oh, okay. I do.
The stats are not one person goes to rehab and then they're fixed for the rest of their life. Doesn't happen ever.
No, I think it's something you've got to constantly work on. Heck, I mean, I don't know what to tell
Joe
you.
go to rehab once?
one and done.
There you go.
30 days, one and done. And you know him, and you're with him every week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's just the mindset.
So he's one of them.
Yep.
Well, and you gotta have a good girl too.
There
You know what I'm saying? It helps to have or a family, or kids, whatever. Because you gotta lean on a lot. It's very, very hard to do by yourself.
I've been doing a shitty job then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally.
I gotta ask. This was something that Bob Costas brought up, was the fact that wrestlers were being exploited. So, like, again, they're working 6-7 days a week, 8 days a week sometime, and no union. So right before WrestleMania 2, Jesse Ventura gets the locker room together, and he has the idea, hey, we're doing these 3 shows. Let's tell them we're doing a union. They're going to have to do it. And then Hogan, for the first time ever, actually admitted that he ratted out Jesse to Vince.
Yeah, because Tony Atlas ratted him out before that. How many times was Hogan wrong in this interview?
A lot.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, at the end, Vince, wrestling won't survive without Vince.
It's surviving right now. It's surviving right now.
You can't be more wrong.
I mean, granted, they all kind of said that.
Well, not with the way Hogan said it.
But
Hack, I got to ask you about the union in wrestling, man. This is something that's just never going to happen. I mean, to you, do you think it's ever going to happen, or I mean,
it would have happened freaking 25 years ago.
Well, no, the union is the guaranteed contracts, basically.
right? Which is what they have now.
Yeah, that's the union. You know, because they went from being paid on a nightly basis to having guaranteed contracts, which is basically a union.
Yes,
They wanted protection, basically.
they need health insurance. They need pensions as well.
So that's
like those are things that wrestlers don't have that they should have.
Dude, if they had a union right now, just think about how much TKO's worth. Like, it's got to be worth like $6 billion.
The wrestlers would own the company.
$6 billion, $8 billion.
A ton.
It's got to be worth something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was worth just the MMA part of it was worth $4 billion now 10 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and they say downside contract is 320, like 350 or something like that. And does that sound right to you?
I think it does. Yeah, for main roster.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's nothing.
And the days that you're working now are a lot less.
Oh, way less. It's like
Way
straight
less.
TV.
Right.
They're not doing, yeah.
And maybe like 2 European tours, right? A year, something like that.
Even if you want to go on it.
Right. And that to me is like, okay, that's a manageable schedule. You can have a family, you can live a healthy lifestyle, and you're seeing
Dude, it's more than a manageable schedule for $350,000 a year.
Right, but you guys don't understand how hard it is to do that traveling.
Yes.
The traveling is worse on you than being in the ring.
Yes.
But I get it. Trust me. I get it. But it's a manageable schedule.
I'm not digging a ditch. I'm not pruning a tree, putting a roof on, doing a siding.
For $350,000 a year, which is probably $300,000 more dollars than your average American, probably more.
Yeah. Hack, I gotta ask you, man. I gotta ask you about WrestleMania 3. What was this like as a fan at the time?
I found this on the web for how is
Whoa.
$300,000 more dollars
There
than
you
your
go.
average American,
Siri.
probably more.
See, Siri's got my back apparently. I don't know how
He said that. Oh my God! Tell Simon Diamond to get off your phone.
Simon Diamond. Tell me about WrestleMania 3, man. What
Was that the one with Thunder Lips?
No, that was Hogan and Andre, man. Pontiac Silverdome. WrestleMania 3.
Man.
You didn't care for it?
Well, no, I don't remember much of it.
You don't remember? You didn't.
I remember Andre getting slammed.
Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat tearing the house down with George Animal Steel. No, okay, nothing. It wasn't. It wasn't like a big cultural event for you being a big wrestling fan.
Well, it was then, but that doesn't mean I've been in matches that I can't even remember.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. We do it every week.
Fair point.
That's basically the only thing I remember out of that.
The defense of
dude, that was so huge.
rests.
Yeah, it was gigantic. It was the biggest event of all time that they did at that point. There were some arguments about the actual attendance there.
78,000.
78,000 is the correct. That was a hilarious part where like Meltzer was going over the actual number, and then they went to like Hogan lying, Bruce Pritchard lying, and Vince all in a row at the top. 93,000. That was a great bit.
Yeah, but I was very happy because 20 years later, I was at 83,005 people documented.
Which beat it. That was the actual better than it number that they did. So
it was all because of me.
Highest grossing pay-per-view
of all
to that
time.
point.
Ever. Yeah. Then they talked about like the merchandising with like the Hogan workout set and the vitamins and the hotline and tying in everything that they did with the merchandising aspect.
What a money-making freaking machine.
That's where like the genius of it. It's like, oh, we got this character. Well, you're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to get these toys. We're going to do this thing. What a machine. And that they've always had a leg up, whether it was WCW or AEW. They've always had a leg up. Their merchandising team.
Hasbro, I think they were. And Hasbro was the biggest freaking toy company on the planet.
Yeah, and the Wrestle Buddies. I had them as a kid. Like, that kind of stuff, just being so forward thinking with that is a really...
Yes, dude, that's straight brilliance.
Yes.
That is just... And he probably saw all that like
the G.I.
3 years before that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He probably saw that years before it actually came to fruition.
Yeah, I forget who it was in the documentary where they said, like, it was like...
That's like Elon Musk shit.
Where it was like Vince and Hogan were like the same guy, but they like one of them was doing the wrestling and one of them was doing the booking. I forget who said that on the documentary, but it like Hogan was out. Hogan was out there doing the shows, and then Vince was in the office around the clock making things work. And then they got into the whole movies thing, man. No Holds Barred. Have you guys ever seen No Holds Barred?
What the movie that Hogan and Vince made?
Yeah, and I don't want to.
Dude, it is bad. It is bad, man. It is really. It is really. They played the one clip where the guy shits his pants.
Vince said he was like, "It's not the worst movie ever made."
Yeah,
and it sure as hell looks like the worst movie ever made.
It's pretty bad, dude. It really.
You never
really
saw Dawn of the Dead?
I've seen Dawn of the Dead. That's not
the first one.
Yeah, the zombie movie.
You're a loser.
Okay, you're a loser.
You weren't even alive for the first one.
How
old are you?
I wasn't alive for.
I'm 38.
Wait, how?
I can't see old movies.
Oh, 12. Yeah, no, you were like 1.
So I can't see old movies because I'm certain age.
Yeah, when did Scarface come out?
I want to say 79. 80.
Yeah, I've seen Scarface.
Yeah, I've seen The Godfather.
We're not getting into another argument, Simon.
Simon says.
Simon's obese.
Did you ever see No Holds Barred, Hack?
Oh yeah, back in the day, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Dude, you have to understand. Dude, wrestling is my life here. It was my life's dream. I've always loved it. Anything wrestling. I don't care how bad it was good because it was pro wrestling.
Okay.
And that's just the way it was in my life.
Yeah, and
especially back then.
Then they mention like Hogan's run out of steam a little bit here in the early 90s. They go to Warrior, and it made sense, I guess, in the business why you would transition to Warrior at this point. But Warrior wasn't it. Like, it didn't click with him, and it didn't, I don't know, it just wasn't working out.
Well, they said he didn't really like wrestling.
Okay, first of all, you ever tried to listen to one of his promos?
Insane.
They were intelligible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hogan will give you, hey, you eat your vitamins, pump your iron. He'd be talking about the gates of hell and this lion coming in and doing this. You know what I mean?
Just insane.
He was all in. He was like, hey, he was like me. All entrance. and then as soon as the bell rang, the work went way down right after that.
Wow, you're kind of. No, No way. I think Hack, you're a way better worker than the Ultimate Warrior, man.
Yeah,
all right?
but I have to realize that dude, a lot. My whole thing was the opening.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, it just didn't work,
And that's fine.
That's fine. It was entertaining, but so it wasn't working out. And then they go to Sergeant Slaughter.
You rolled, your brother.
And they turned him into an Iraqi sympathizer. And man, it was just the wrong time for that gimmick. It just was not working. I mean,
I know, it's like, how are you going to do that to Sergeant Slaughter?
it was an idea.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
How can you get the most heat? He was your big baby face because you have to understand, back in those days, military people were looked up to. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, you served for our country. You know what I mean?
And still should be. But
Yeah, but it was a different day and age, and
I get what you're saying, though.
But
They're way
Sergeant
more
Slaughter
revered
was
back in the
huge.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
military people. Now we look like military, like, yeah, dude, what kind of atrocities did you do over there? And shit. I mean, we kind of do.
No, I know what you're saying.
And I hate it. Because those people, and especially the way we treat our veterans when they come back to the United States, that's a shame, dude.
Yeah.
We should be taking care of those people more than anybody on the planet.
I totally agree with you, but
All right, Tosh, get on to something else quick.
no, I'm talking about
Hacks talking politics.
No, I'm talking WrestleMania 7 here. Not that you're wrong, but it's like at the time you're invading Iraq for the first time, right? And when you have real life stuff going on in the news like that, and people are dying, and it's the first time people have been to war since Vietnam in America,
Well,
it was just the wrong time.
Didn't he move from Iran to Iraq, or move from Iraq to Iran? They started the Iraqis, and then they didn't.
I think it was always.
Iranians?
I think it was always Iran.
It was always Iraq.
It was
always Iraq.
Iraq. That's it. It was
Yeah.
always.
I thought they had done a switch so that they
No.
didn't.
But they
cover
did a
too
lot
well.
of good stuff. I don't know if you saw. Is it A&E that does the bios
Yeah,
or whatever?
yeah.
The Sergeant Slaughter one. I don't know
I
if you
didn't see
saw
it, but
that one, but I watched it. But that for me, that taught me a lot about just Sergeant Slaughter and that whole gimmick, and that like I was able to reference like the two and everything like that, and how he really was. And Hogan said it like Sergeant Slaughter was getting death threats, and
It was the wrong
his
kind of
family.
heat.
Yeah,
It was the wrong kind of heat, and it's like I know sometimes you might not know the line until you actually get to it, but
Sure.
that was over the line. And
Good,
it
and
was-
you got to even think back then. Nobody was like shooting up schools or anything, so they weren't worried about somebody shooting them in an arena.
yeah, and that actually I want
know what I mean?
to call out. That's something that they didn't have in the documentary that was actually BS kind of. So they originally booked the LA Coliseum for WrestleMania that year, and tickets weren't moving. So they used the shooter thing as an excuse to move it to the arena versus the stadium show. So that's actually the truth of it, where they...
What?
Yes.
Explain this to me again.
Okay, so they booked WrestleMania for the LA Coliseum, which
Yeah.
is like a 80,000, 90,000 seat
Right.
stadium. Tickets were not selling well, so then they used the death threats as the excuse for moving it to the smaller building.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
So that's
All
something
right.
that-
Oh, the Coliseum. Okay.
yeah, where USC played, where
Right.
the Rose Bowl.
Yeah,
was.
right.
Yeah.
I saw Kid Rock there.
Yeah, so like that's like
And maybe Metallica that I don't remember.
that's like their excuse for moving to the smaller building because they weren't that hot in the business at that point in time. So, yeah, then you go, man, and they're talking about George Zahorian, the steroid trial and everything resulting in that.
Blah, 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 blah. Vince just...
How about when he shows up at the trial with the neck brace on, and it's kind of
The greatest thing ever.
well, it's kind of like what he did after some of the sexual assault allegations came out when he grew that pervert mustache, right? He changes the conversation by his appearance, right? Instead of talking about the allegations, everybody was talking about the mustache. Instead of talking about the trial, everybody's like,
Smoke and mirrors, baby.
I know, but he turned those things into
Smoke and
wrestling
mirrors.
angles. He turned real life stuff
Right.
into wrestling
Dude,
angles.
but that's the best ones. Me,
Did I not just got done telling you that if I take the trash out, it's a work? With
No,
everything is a work
I know.
with these dudes.
I know,
Literally.
but it's like the federal government is going after Vince here for a steroid trial
And he showed up with a neck brace on.
with a neck brace on.
Yes.
and he turns
looking
it into
for sympathy.
and he turns it into an angle right then, and it's like
Brilliant.
that's another. Actually, now that we mentioned
Brilliant.
we mentioned the steroid trial, that's another person that they didn't interview who they should have had was his lawyer Jerry McDevitt. Have you ever seen him interviewed before?
I know he is.
Why the hell would he?
He's talked before on Dark Side about the steroid trial. I can't believe.
Did he?
Yeah, I can't believe they couldn't get him for this.
I was going to say, why would he ever talk
He
about
loves
that?
talking about it. He that was the biggest success of his career. He beat the federal government.
I stand corrected.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Just like OJ's lawyer.
for a lawyer, you win that case, it makes your whole career. I mean, he's since stopped representing Vince after these allegations. It's actually the first time.
Dude, once you win, why? You're like, who knows what's next?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Got my win, W.
the steroid trial and the Ring Boy scandal. So, to me, the Ring Boy scandal, man, this is some of the stuff where it's like, it reminds me so much of like the Catholic Church or Penn State or some of these awful.
All right, do not put Jerry Sandusky in with the Catholic Church, dude.
Why?
Please.
I'm telling you why.
Because the scale is like 800,000 times bigger.
The church is way worse. Way worse.
Well, no, they're both worse, but the Catholic Church scale was all over the planet.
Yes,
Listen.
and they moved them around and everything. But my point there, Hack, is basically these institutions that knew abuse was taking place, and instead of trying to correct it, just brushed it under the rug. And you saw it with Penn State, you saw it with the Catholic Church, and you saw it with WWF here, where they knew these things were taking place. Bret Hart says, everybody knew he was a pedophile. Everybody knew this guy was a pedophile. And speak up and say something, everybody. Like, if you see things like that going on, take accountability and do something about it, because that's horrible experience, man. So many people got abused during that, and it's just an awful period of their history that is just not talked about. So, got to make mention of that too.
Wendy and Moolah, are we up to that yet?
Yeah, let's talk about Wendy Richter.
It was great.
Aren't we past that?
No, well, that was actually in episode 3, I think, is when they
that's
started.
right, I had 3.
Yeah.
The ring guy, I have the last thing in 2. All right.
And the other thing too was Rita Charlton, man. Vince McMahon's quotes on that were horrible on that. Where he said he was accused of rape, and then he said if it was rape, the statute of limitations had run out. I mean, what kind of
answer is that?
Not even an answer, but just to
brush it.
It's just fucking awful, man. I mean, like, he told on himself there more than anything else, more than any other moment in the documentary. Like, he told on himself right then with his treatment towards women. I mean, it's just
the nonchalance of it all.
Yes, just awful, man. Awful, horrible stuff. And
absolute power.
Absolute power. I mean, you said it. You said it months ago. You said it last year, and you said it again. I mean, you're absolutely right there. And then, let's talk about Wendy Richter and everything here, Hack. So, Wendy Richter was
first screw job.
First screw job. A lot of people don't realize this. So,
Well, not technically.
Like, this is something that I've learned about that I had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, like, he felt that she was getting too big for them and wanted it off her, and did that, and
Yeah, but or could it have been because Mueller was farming out all these girls to other promoters, and she said no to Mueller?
There could be a lot there,
you know
too.
What I'm saying? I hope you people, what was the show that exposed it all?
Dark Side.
Yeah, Mueller and farming out the girls back there.
Horrible stuff, too.
You know what I mean?
Trafficking. I mean, seriously, straight trafficking right there.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the only way to categorize it. I mean,
same thing as Vince.
Same thing as Vince. I mean,
but
it's just
one thing I need to say is, how come every pimp that's ever been arrested none of them get charged for trafficking? How come no pimps get charged for trafficking?
I don't know the circumstances.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Doesn't somebody else take the rap?
I can't explain that, Hack. I don't know. I mean, but
don't pick and choose your shit. If you're going to be the government and you're going to throw charges on people, throw the same charge on everybody that does the same crime.
Okay.
Don't choose it to be a Vince, but your regular pimp never gets charged with it. And that's exactly what they're doing, is trafficking women.
Yeah. So back to this Moolah.
Right.
She's the spider. And
the roll up and everything, dude. And then the fight after the belt for the belt afterwards.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, that was a straight fight.
Yeah.
And didn't Mueller whip her with the belt too?
Yeah.
Like when she's trying to pull it away from her.
And Vince saying, "I don't fight fair. Life's not fair." And it's like, oh my God, you really are Vince McMahon. Like they get into that more in the documentary.
But
where
that's
it's like
business.
It is, but and we'll get to the Bret Hart stuff here too, because this episode was mostly about the steroid trial. Vince McMahon, Hogan, the government having Hogan testify against Vince, and then Hogan working the government to cop a deal, and then not really say anything bad about Vince. Is just, again, wrestlers working, and the people that aren't wrestlers don't realize when they're working. Like, it's insane to me. I mean, it's just, all of it's insane. You're laughing, Hack. It's just nuts.
Dude, but all the old guys are like the Rock and Roll Express and all they would all dude, everything in life is a work. Every single thing. Because every single thing, if you dial it down to, is money. And who's making money off of every single thing? And that's the bottom line.
Book of Power.
Book of Power. Yeah, I was thinking a lot about that watching this whole thing with Vince. That too. And then the business outside of the Ring Boy scandal and the steroid scandal and Hogan going to WCW. This was a really bleak time period.
Oh, and then the Luger Express.
And then the Luger Express.
Oh, wow.
And then Nitro launching. And then this was actually one of the rare occasions where I found Eric Bischoff to be like dialed back and actually like being honest. I thought he was really good in this documentary. And
I did too.
I thought he was like actually
100%.
like...
There's been time.
And he was honest about himself, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually when you see these quotes from Bischoff out there, I'm like, you're kind of working. And he you got to... But he was honest in this. I feel like he was really being, like, truthful about stuff and everything. And
He was working.
He was well, everybody's always working, but him talking about everything that they did that made them a success, it's just, man, you really lit a fire under WWF's ass with everything that you did there. Like... Everything WCW was doing, you took their guys, you did all these things, you're going live, you're telling the results out there on the air. I mean, it was an exciting time in the business. And
Vince made him pay, though.
He did.
Vince made his ass pay.
He did, and then
But I mean, dude, they had the world on fire.
WCW was their own worst enemy.
They were, and then we just watched Death to WCW, and we've talked about your run there and everything, but like, man, when the NWO thing happened and everything, that was business. And it was like totally taking over the business. And WWF at the time was kind of a little cold with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels on top. And the business was not on fire. And Vince talks about giving that 20-year deal. So he signs Bret Hart in 1996 to keep him away from WCW. Gives him a 20-year contract, right? And one of the things they left out in the documentary that I think was completely overlooked is the fact that they gave Bret Hart creative control. So they gave him creative control.
That makes no sense. See, a couple things didn't click to me right here in this whole situation.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Why would Vince? First of all, Vince is a guy that knows he can make his own freaking stars. All right, maybe he gets pissed off that they're stealing all his stars, and he's like, all right, I'm going to give this guy a 20-year contract. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't giving him a 20-year contract in creative control.
He did that.
I know, but I'm not so sure that's what happened.
It is, though. That's what Bret Hart...
All right, I've said it is, but what happened?
They sued. I mean, he sued him over it. He breached the contract, and Bret Hart went to WCW. Vince's whole concern that he was going to take the belt to WCW would have never happened. That is complete BS. And they don't touch on that at all in the documentary because WCW just had a lawsuit with WWF. They had two big lawsuits after the Nitro era. Number one was Diesel and Scott Hall, their portrayals as their characters on WCW television. And the other one was Medusa taking WWF's property and airing it out on their network. So they just got sued for both of those things. They're not going to take Bret Hart on Nitro with the WWF belt. They just lost in court both those two times. So this whole thing is a Vince McMahon fabrication. And ultimately, he turned on the guy that was just like a real loyal employee. And I mean, it's just like one of the many Vince McMahon piece of shit moments, I think, when he did that to Bret Hart.
I know, but if Bret's leaving...
He gave him the out.
Vince gives him the out and just says, just drop the title. And Bret's butthurt over that he has to lose it to Shawn.
Well, he is, but he also has the contractual right to deny doing that job. In his contract, he has creative control, and the only reason he didn't want a job at the Shawn, and he's willing to job, he said, I would lose to the Brooklyn Brawler.
Sunny days.
Well, that, but also, they got in a fight after that comment, Hack, right? They got in a legit fight backstage.
I heard about it from Chris Candido.
Ripping the hair out and everything. Yeah. And after that, they kind of squashed the beef, and Brett tries to make amends for him and says, I'll do business with you in the future, and I'll put you over and everything. And then Shawn Michaels turned around and said, I'll never put you over. And that really just always stuck with Brett. So he was like, I'm not doing a job to this guy. I refuse to. You shouldn't have put the match in the ring, Vince McMahon. You should have done like Brett Undertaker, Brett Austin, Brett anybody. And instead, Vince McMahon does the screw job. Michaels and Triple H lie about it for years and years and years. Oh, I swear to God, I swear to God. They're swearing to God. And the clip of Bret Hart's wife always gets to me, man, when she's like, you'll have your day. You'll have your day. And it's just, man, just horrible stuff there. I always felt that they did him so dirty.
Do business, Brett. Do business.
He was willing to do business. He would have put...
No, he wasn't. Clearly.
He was willing to do business.
That's why he got screwed. In his eyes, do business. You're a worker. Do business. You're leaving. Do business. Take your pride and throw it out the window. Do business. You're in the sport of professional wrestling. Do business.
The other thing, Hack, I got to ask you about too.
It's not personal. It's business. I don't care if you give a fuck. I don't care if you care about Shawn Michaels or he said something about this, said something about that. You're in business, dude. Like, that's what you signed up for. Take personal shit out the window. Like, that's what you signed up for. Sorry.
No,
I can't take it. And Bret Hart speaks in third person as in if he's somebody.
Oh, he's the
Bret Hart did this. Bret Hart did this. The only reason WWE got over is because Bret Hart was in the business. Come on, dude. You're a professional wrestler.
I love Bret. Hack,
I was an artist.
He was an artist.
Loser.
Shut up.
So was Hack.
We're all artists.
Yeah, so was Hack.
I said we're all
Hack was an artist
I know.
too. I think they're all. I do think
He's
they're
just
artists.
so butthurt.
So Hack, I got to ask you about the other thing too, and they always make mention of this in all these documentaries and stuff. Is the curtain call? Do you have any memory of when WWF did the curtain call, and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was great because I wasn't, dude. I wasn't fucking raised like in Stu. I wasn't raised in Stu Hart's gym about like how you got to be so secretive about the business and stuff like that. It was no problem with me.
Okay,
that's just like no problem.
Yeah, I mean, but
dude, because we were all the ECW guys were going to the bar, and every single one of us. Heels, baby faces were all in the same fucking bar. You know what I mean? So it's like, I knew, to me at that point, I know people know that this shit ain't real.
Right. It's
especially because you gotta look at the ECW crowd. It's all adults. There's no 9-year-old kids there.
Yeah.
These people are adults and they're there to be entertained like they go to watch a Bruce Willis movie. They're going to watch Die Hard movie. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're right.
You when you buy your ticket, you suspend reality right there.
Yeah.
Walk in the building.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, man. I'm like, and Triple H made the comment of saying it was the thing that got the biggest pop on the show that night. And yeah, I mean it did, and it's just it's an interesting moment in time there. And then they talk about the rise of Steve Austin, Hack, and Steve Austin. They show a clip of you from they show a clip of you from ECW, and you're there, and it's like I think Malik tagged us on Instagram, and I'm like, motherfucker, this guy's in the Vince McMahon documentary. I got to put him over here. There you are, just a clip.
In a do-rag.
In a do-rag, yeah.
Enter the Sandman on the back, and then he's shaking my beer, throws me through a table. But, hey, a lot of guys in ECW got used in that little minute and a half segment.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
A lot of guys.
Absolutely. Here was the one thing that really bothered me, too, about this episode of the documentary was Vince McMahon whining about Ted Turner taking all their talent and stuff. And then they were like, well, didn't you do
exactly what he did?
Didn't you do the same thing? And he was like, no, I was competing.
He was literally saying the same words, but in like different words.
Yes.
To make himself the baby face in the scenario.
And he's working.
Oh my God! This money that Ted's got.
He's like, no, I was just doing that to try and
competition.
Yeah, they did that to steal my talent or whatever the hell he said. He was basically saying the same exact thing. Round and round and round.
And then they had the clip of like all the guys that they stole and their original incarnations in the business, and it's like, motherfucker, you literally stole all these guys from other companies.
That was your business plan.
Yeah, and it was good. It worked. Like, it made sense. And now you're over here crying poor because they have more money than you? Like, no. Competition is competition. Like,
yeah, that was funny. Like, it was like, no, it wasn't stealing, it was competing. But they're stealing, not competing.
It's the same shit, man. And the fact that he can't understand that, and to this day, I'm sure, probably still has resentment about it, is kind of just like, man, what the heck?
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny.
That was really bad. Yeah, I mean, that whole time period was like a real formative period. Like the Monday Night Wars, I know that those things have been like, over discussed, I guess, a little bit. But the next episode started with Vince McMahon saying his favorite wrestler as a kid was Dr. Jerry Graham. And this is somebody I've never seen work before, but you can see like he had the bleach blonde hair and he had like a strut. And then they show him doing the strut in the ring and then Vince McMahon doing his strut. And you're like, man,
I see where this comes from.
Yeah, like this is where you got that from. And he was lighting cigars with $100 bills, and it's like he would go on a ride with them, and he would just blow all the red lights. And again, I don't know if that's a work, if it's true, whatever. But
oh no, back in that day, yes. If you were that big of a superstar going through a small town, dude, everybody knew who you were. Like, if you're the Rock and Roll Express working in Atlanta, dude, you get pulled over, the cops are going to be like, oh, can I get an autograph?
yeah,
That's just the way it was.
yeah, and then after Montreal, they have Vince going on Raw, and he does that Brett Screwed Brett interview, and he still has the black eye in it. And that was like a real turning point for the company. Getting knocked out and then becoming a character. And now we see Vince as he starts to become the character of Vince McMahon, which is basically who he's always been, but just on TV. And one of the interesting things in the documentary was when they asked everybody, it was like, is there a difference between Vince McMahon the character and Vince
they're
McMahon
all like, no, not really.
And then he was like, yeah, there's... I'm like, what? Like, Hack, I know you just had, like, limited interactions with him and all, but, like, from your perspective of being there, do you think the Vince McMahon character is Vince McMahon as a person?
Yeah, I think he's kind of like me. You know what I mean?
It's you, but
drink
just
a beer, get in a bar fight, when I lose a game in pool tea, and then just over exaggerate that, when you get out there.
And his is just, I'm the dickhead boss.
Well, dude, you have to understand that. Obviously, that's how all those motherfuckers feel. Nobody says no to you ever. You think you're the baddest shit on the planet.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. And then, like, at this time period, if you look at WWF's business, right, you get Steve Austin, and he heats up, and he cuts that John 316, Austin 316 promo, which is, like, the best promo ever. Like, just absolutely gold. And then you got The Rock coming up. And you got Taker, you got Triple H, and you got Vince McMahon. So again, separating Vince McMahon, the person, from the performer. Vince McMahon, the performer, is as good at getting wrestling heat as anyone ever. I mean,
he's as good as character as there ever was.
Like the performances he would do, and the promos he would cut, and his facial expressions and his eyes.
He might have the best faces ever.
I think,
literally ever.
I think so. I think so too. I think as a performer, and again, this is not the person. I think the person is.
Remember, he was doing those faces like what Tony Storm is doing now. Like the business has turned into like Cody and Roman were doing at the Georgia Stadium. It's turning into more Cineplex than wrestling, you know what I mean? Those faces, like WWE always wants to leave a segment with two guys like in their face to each other, you know what I mean? And you got your eyes wide open and everything. That's just the way the business is going now. But Vince knew it way back then. Like his faces were like 100 times better than anybody's.
Gold. It was pure. It was pure gold. Everything that he did was pure gold. He could shit out a golden nugget.
To me too.
As a character, everything, facials, the one-liners, everything there was is
He's dancing at the top of the ramp, and Stone Cold's just trying not to bust out laughing in the ring. You
Yeah.
can see it on his face. It's like,
it's
Now
just
that's fucking great.
yeah, it's pure comedy, and the apple don't fall from the tree. Obviously, as we get into that, I mean,
Well, then he starts to quickly involve his family members. So it was first Shane. He involved Shane, and it's like, okay, well, this makes perfect sense. If I'm the asshole boss, who does the employee hate more than the asshole boss? It's the kid who's getting the company and not doing the work, and then he's getting a bigger paycheck than me, and I'm working my ass off.
Right.
Throw regular life into it.
Right? And
right,
it's like,
the snobby asshole that was born with a golden spoon in his
Yeah.
mouth. That
and I thought, out of all the WWE people, right, like not like the reporters and people like that in the documentary, I actually thought Shane was really, really good as well in this, and it kind of humanized him in a way that I've never like thought of him almost, and especially later in the documentary when it was like some of the things like when he came back into the company, and just looking for that approval from his father.
I wish they would have explained to us when he left for the 6 years, because supposedly that his dad didn't do the deal for freaking the MMA
UFC.
company and all that. When he left, and then they fast forward 6 years, and Shane's talking about, well, I get a call and it's my dad. I would have liked to hear, wait, have you two been talking for this 6 years?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that they left out, I feel like, on the...
I mean, you got so many hours and stuff like that, but...
I agree, Hack. There should have been more detail into there. And Heyman kind of touches on it in the one episode where he's telling the story and Shane has an idea and Vince says, no, we're not going to do
Get
that.
this knife and
Yeah, and Heyman's
stab it.
basically saying you're going to have to kill me right here for it.
Yeah, and Shane apparently made a play for the company.
Oh, see, I don't know that.
He made a play for the company.
How? How do you make a play for the company?
I guess you
Talking to the shareholders?
apparently,
It's
yeah.
public at this, right?
Yeah.
So is he going behind Vince to all
Yeah.
the shareholders?
Yeah, apparently. And whiffed.
Wow.
And that's
Why
when-
don't they say that?
Because they're all they dance around a lot of things they never talk about. Like you interview Linda McMahon in this, and you never once ask her or talk about all the affairs that this man has had.
I know, but we don't need to hear that.
Well, we do.
Why?
I mean, because it's a big part of the story.
dude, it's about.
I know, but
Vince McMahon.
we told the freaking affair stories. What's she going to say? Oh, I was bitch hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, but I mean, why do you forgive him? How about asking her that?
Because he spent $100 million trying to get her elected to the Senate.
That was basically.
That was probably the trade-off.
I'm sure that is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I honestly feel that way.
I agree with you. Yes, but
Two $50 million campaigns.
But I'm saying, Hack, though, like, if you flaunt all these affairs on your public thing, and not the performance. Again, now we're going to get to the Trish Stratus stuff. You got the barking like a dog promo, and the dressing her down, and it's like, man, it's again as a performance. Amazing performance, heel, amazing heat and everything. He got his comeuppance in the angle, but this shit mirrors a lot of real life disgusting stuff that you later hear about him in some of these allegations.
Trish didn't seem to mind.
She did.
Okay,
she
here we
did
go.
She did not about this,
All
but she
right,
later
hold on.
turned down the lesbian thing.
These are the little things that I picked up, but I had to go. Like I told you, I've watched a couple of these episodes at least 3 times, and I would back up a couple times. So Trish actually says, I had no idea what was going. Well, basically, I don't know it verbatim, but she's like, they basically spoon fed me. She didn't know that this where all it was going later on. It was like, oh, this week we're going to do this. Maybe they didn't even know what was going on next week to next week.
Probably did.
But she says if they told me that it probably would have been different if they told me to where it was building up to her making out with the other person. Which probably could, when they first started it, they might not even had that.
Well,
it's booking week to week.
Well, that Mickey James angle was years later, Hack. That was like in 2005, 2006 when she didn't want to make out with the other girl.
Oh, and they just used that, right?
Well, no, that was used in a different clip from this stuff. But I know what you're saying, though. It's like she didn't want to do that because it didn't fit her character. Is what
Yeah,
she
but
said.
it's also
Right.
so
Well,
she was
she
getting
actually reached
spoon-fed.
to a point. She probably got
Where
to
she
a
could
point.
say no.
Right. Yeah, she was the women's champion. She thought that she had probably reached a point where it was like, okay, I can say no now. When
I mean-
it was like the bar, like she said, she was getting in the business.
Can't say no to Vince.
Being
He's never
Vince's
heard
mistress,
no.
everything like that, and she
Great
was still,
point.
and she was still doing whatever she was kind of told or whatever. But then she's been the women's champion, this, that, the other. So she got to a point where she was like, "Nah, I'm not going to do
They're
that.
not going to can me if I say no.
Right." And
They might bury me and take the belt from me, but they're not going to can me.
well, that's what she said. She was like, "If you didn't do what he did, he might have punished you." And I lost the title.
No, she
the
didn't
next
say
week.
that. She said you might have got punished, and she pointed at her own stomach. She didn't come out and say it.
But she
pointed
did.
at herself.
Man, it's just like, and then
You
like,
had to feel that happened with a lot of the women there.
absolutely, man.
Dude, a lot
Every good-looking girl that came in, next thing you know, Vince is making out with her.
I mean, the Sable stuff, right? Sable legitimately in 1999 sued them for $100 million, sexual harassment.
Is she the one that got $7.5 million?
What? No. I don't.
There was $30 million between like 4 girls and 7.5.
No, they ended
I don't
up-
think so,
that they,
because they
that
haven't-
they settled, but they didn't give a
One-
number.
Yeah. So she settled with Vince from that 1999 lawsuit, and then comes back in 2003, 2004, or as a character. Maybe it was 2002. I can't remember.
Why
the
would
year.
you go back in?
For money.
For money? I mean, but
I know, but
And having
you're
to
in a
make
place
out
where
with the dude that you sued for sexual
And do all that
harassment.
other stuff. It
in
looks
the very
horrible on
first
you.
segment you're here.
all of
Yeah.
it's horrible and disgusting. And then
Money.
Stephanie says in the promo,
Shoot it.
"You took my, you sued her. Why are you getting involved with her when she sued our family business?" And I'm like, man, this is all just layers.
Shoot promo.
It's all just fucked up shit.
I hated
man.
her. She was. I didn't like that promo with her. Like a lot of stuff that she's done, I've loved, but that promo I didn't like. I
Okay.
think because it hit too close to home for her.
Yeah, and like, man, again, like some of these performances of the stuff, like as a character, I'm like, man, Vince, reprehensible. And then like some of the stuff later in the years where you could tell, like, I wonder what his mental.
But you gotta put it in perspective of we're looking at it hindsight 2020.
Oh yeah.
If you're like a lot of the things that they were doing were because of what was happening in that time period, late 90s, everything that was going on, MTV popping, sexuality,
Girls Gone Wild. Girls
is
Gone Wild.
popping,
Howard Stern.
MTV Spring Break.
Yeah.
You got chicks walking around, bikinis, titties going, everything's going on, and that's what he sold to,
Well, that's what he said. He would use that to mirror to mirror society in professional wrestling.
Right, and then later on, he was like, society was dying down a little bit, so I went from TV 14 to TV PG.
Right.
Everything was dying down, so
So Ty, I have less of an issue. I don't have an issue with performers choosing to sell their sex at all, as long as they're willing to do so themselves. But when
right,
it's
and I'm not saying any different.
Yeah.
Trish was selling sex, being on the cover of that Muscle magazine.
absolutely
100%.
hack, but there's a difference between selling that and then if the owner of the company is asking you to make out with you, and then it's like a whole different layer. That's
No, I thought he asked her to make out with another chick.
well, he made out with her too. in the angle.
First.
I mean, he's
that
like,
could have been like 6 months later.
in front of his wife who's comatose in a wheelchair. I'm like,
that they're doubling her dose of medicine.
I know, but
what a
there's-
great angle.
I know, but they're saying that
How
the
bad
wife,
you want your job?
The wife's in on it. I'm pretty sure Trish knew what was going. And she obviously consented to making out with
Yes.
Vince McMahon.
but again, when it's your boss asking you and it's your opportunity, it's your big break, you really can't say no. Like
That's.
I'm not saying it's
the
right.
way- Yeah, but listen, I'm not saying it's right either. But that's what you chose to get into.
Okay, but is it different than than your boss making out with you, or is it different if he says, "All right, I'm doing this angle with you and Hunter, and you guys are going to be a thing, and you're going to end up kissing"? Is there a difference? Through Vince saying, "Hey, you're going to make out with somebody else on my roster," or "I'm part of the roster, you're going to make out with me"?
I think it's
and you're
all-
going to be in the top angle.
I think it's all up to the individual performer if they feel uncomfortable. Ultimately, I mean,
Sure.
that's, yeah,
All right,
that's
Sure.
All right, I know, but
I mean, that,
why you don't say no to that?
right? Because
It's just it happens every week, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you're so deep, you're like, "Oh shit, how did I get here?"
because it's a star-making opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I feel like it just the boundary pushing of stuff that they were doing. It's like, man, I understand it was the times and all, but Vince was going down a weird path too. Like the one feud that he did with Shawn Michaels when it was like God and him, he was feuding. Have you ever seen some of that stuff where he's feuding with God?
I don't remember that.
I'm like, This guy was getting some things out there on the TV in front of us all, man. I guess then purchasing WCW was like the ultimate victory lap for him. And after that, I kind of feel like he got bored ultimately. And then, man,
sure, he won. Bro.
He won, and it was like,
what's the next challenge?
Right.
And for him, it was trying to make the XFL. It was trying to,
right.
It was
That's trying
to
other
do
things came in.
business. It was trying to do all these other things. And the one thing about Vince,
well, here we go. He perfectly explains it too, and it made total sense to me, probably because I've seen this episode 3 times. Is he wants to branch out? You got to understand. Look what the prices of professional football teams have gone 30 times what they were from 1990 to what they are now.
Absolutely.
Ever since the dude that bought the basketball team in L.A. because the guy was saying
he paid $2 billion,
2.15.
Yes.
That shot the Phillies up to $500 million or whatever the hell it was. You know what I mean? So that makes perfect sense. And it also makes perfect sense is if you get a restaurant going and whatever the other business was, you can always rob Peter to pay Paul. If you want to invest into something else, you can use them instead of just having the one.
Right.
So it made perfect sense of what he was trying to do.
Diversify.
Execution, yes. Diversity is everything. Execution, who the hell knows? You know what I'm saying? But it made perfect sense to me from a business standpoint to diversify. Dude, he's trying to brand. You know what I mean? He's trying to brand a restaurant, brand this, brand that. Dude,
right, anything.
Absolutely. He should have went to clothes.
Oh, there you go, clothing. Okay.
He really probably should have back then.
That makes okay.
No, that's the Shark Tank in me. No, it is.
All
That's
right,
the Shark
Mr.
Tank in me.
Wonderful.
Well, maybe because he didn't was, you know who all the big clothier people were back then. They might have had it more sewn up than anybody has it sewn up even now. Like when you watch Shark Tank, they're like, no, dude, we're not going into toys. You're going to get crushed unless you sell this to them. You know what I mean? You can't go into this. You're going to get crushed by the big guys.
No, it's interesting stuff.
But him diversifying was a great idea.
Yeah, should have hooked up with Damon.
Yeah, Damon. That's right. Damon's always the close guy. Heck, I got to ask too about like this is another interesting dynamic that's I feel like they didn't really dive in enough on it. Is the relationship between Triple H and Stephanie becoming an on-screen romance first and then a real life couple.
Dude, you spend that much time with people, that's how it happens. Talk to the Hardys.
Manager, and the next thing you know, they're dating. Right?
You know, yeah, I mean, it happens. So one of them gets hurt on the tag team. Oh no, that was Edge. Was it Edge?
Edge and Lita. Yeah.
Okay. Dude, it happens all the time in the business. Me and Missy.
Yeah. I mean, you're just working together,
it just happens.
I mean, do you think? And I'm not doubting that their relationship is genuine or anything, but Triple H seems like he's a guy who's, very power hungry. Do you think that maybe his intentions were looking for a business down the road, or I have
no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I'm speculating here. I have no idea either.
No, but I think they're in love.
I do too. I mean, I do too. I mean, I don't know.
I've seen him in catering. Yeah, dude, they would always make it a point to have me come up and say hi to them. Like I'd be walking by in catering. Like the last time I was there.
Who's this? Stephanie and Hunter?
Yeah, Stephanie and Hunter. Like they if I was walking by, I'm not going to interrupt them while they're sitting at a table with like Bruce Pritchard and Jerry Briscoe and Michael Hayes. I'm not going to walk. A lot of dudes will walk up to the table and want to shake all their hands. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to interrupt you while you're eating. I don't want to shake hands with anybody when I'm eating. You know what I'm saying? So I would walk
you don't
by,
want to shake hands with
and
anybody.
a couple different times they called me over to say hi to them.
Okay, all right.
Well, I've been in the company of a couple times walking by. Stephanie, for whatever reason, is a Hack fan.
Yep.
I've been in the company of just being in the arena and walking by, and we just been walking by, and Stephanie
she'll come right up.
Yeah.
Well, she's obviously a huge wrestling fan, and she knows her shit. I mean,
yeah, she loves workers.
Yeah.
But so I can actually attest to that, which I don't want to put him over for that, but I will. Did you have any sort of relationship with Shane Hack?
Only because Shane liked me because Raven and Shane were very, very, very good buddies. Me and Raven ended up being good buddies. So anytime I was near Shane, Shane would always come up to me and shake my hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't ever really remember seeing Shane that
That
much.
makes sense.
When we were there. Was he out? So that was 2007. Was Shane out by then? Was that then?
He might have been on his way out by that point. Some of that timeline's a little.
No, he was around.
He was around still.
Yeah,
so it was probably like a couple years, a year or so
maybe a little
after.
bit after.
That part about the documentary to me, where it's like Shane doing all those crazy things ultimately just to try to get the approval of his father.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure it's like him wanting to prove himself to the boys.
I thought that as well.
Like, I belong here, don't worry.
I think it's a little bit of both.
When he goes back to Gorilla after the Undertaker match and he gets that weird awkward hug from Vince, and it's
Dude,
like,
you see Vince hugging everybody else, like John Cena, big hug, tapping him on there, squeezing him on his back and shit like that.
But that's what makes me believe that was why Shane was doing, because Shane probably never got affirmation from Vince.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I can believe that.
Unless it was something like at SummerSlam where he jumps off a 75-foot thing.
Listen.
You know,
Do I think Shane wanted to prove to the boys that like he wasn't just being put in this match because he's Vince's son?
Yeah, he deserved it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think that's part of it, but I think the main push was that he was always searching for affirmation from Vince.
Yeah.
You know, because Vince clearly probably never gave it to him.
No.
This whole time. So
Which is like the most retarded thing I've ever even heard in my life. How fathers don't put their sons over.
Yeah.
I want to put my son over and make him feel better about himself.
Right.
I don't ever want to not say anything to him or not hug him like this.
Yeah, like
but it's old school shit.
I grew up in a loving home, so it's kind of weird for me to not experience
must be
that.
nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I've never gotten in an argument with my dad about Simon Diamond.
Must be nice.
Simon!
No, to me, it's like Shane always kind of wanted to prove to his dad, and he never got the chance to do it as the promoter, and they just kind of.
Well, dude, and especially that match after a long hiatus. What do you say, 6-7 years or whatever, and he's coming back for this match. Shane's probably like, I'm gonna put on the best motherfucking match that you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna show out. Undertaker, you can't go anywhere. Yeah,
And his show out's bumping.
right.
You know, it's not a lot of offense. It's bumping.
His offense is
just-
a little shaky with some of those punches and all. But
No, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, dude, go out there with the Undertaker and kill it.
so now,
But you better believe that he was at RVD said like a bumping school. Like he wasn't just going there that day and like eyeing it to frick up.
No, he said
dude,
he hadn't. He
no,
said he hadn't been in a ring in like 7 years. There's no chance.
Okay, he might not have been in the ring,
No,
but
no,
I
no, I'm
guarantee
saying I
you
don't
he
believe him.
was at a stuntman school doing that shit.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
dude, you're up fucking 40 feet. You're really trying to hit on a 10 by 10 square. If you don't, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he knew how to just fall back on the one that he went backwards. He knew just how to drop right there. You don't jump out, you just drop. You know what I'm saying? He was absolutely schooled on them falls.
Yeah, and that was
And he'd be an idiot not to be.
that was his last match. Shane.
no.
That was the big thing back in the day. We used to talk about it. Oh my God, what's Shane gonna jump off of tonight? We just always knew that was his gimmick in WrestleMania.
I got to ask too about some of this. Like Steph talked about the one storyline that she refused to do.
Oh, the impregnation.
Oh my God! And then Stephanie's like,
And Vince was like, "Oh, I think this was it." Like he didn't know, like he doesn't know exactly what it was.
dude, you're a sicko.
No, that's good.
I don't
No.
hate it. Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of
What
like
are you
it.
kidding me? Dude, you have no idea. It's back then, back now, dude. I know. I go to Virginia. I go to places in
I know,
in
in Round
Ohio
Head.
and stuff, dude. The round heads.
Dude, I love that angle.
No,
dude.
hold on.
I loved it too.
It's
Yeah.
one thing. It's one thing if it's Game of Thrones doing it, and it's another thing if it's actually your daughter.
But what you don't understand is that there's a lot of people in that audience that relate to that angle. Way more people than you would think.
Yeah, I loved it.
The other thing too is, how about the fact that it was
been great.
I'm not so sure it's not my family. I come from the Blowing Rock, Carolinas, dude. I'm not so sure there's not incest in my family. But that's the way it was back in those days, dude. You have to understand that.
Yeah, you do got to.
So you can't just poo-poo it, because the world has to wake up that these things were very prevalent in our society and still are.
The other thing about that is 5 days before her wedding, Vince books himself in a match with her at a pay-per-view.
It's great.
Like, I don't have a problem with them wrestling as an angle, but like, maybe wait till after you get married, like book that angle 3 months later.
Book it, you heard her, and she's got to hobble up to the altar.
Dude, the fact that he wanted to put it on pay-per-view, I was laughing hysterically.
They should have put her in a wheelchair for the wedding or something.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. It's, I don't know. I just think like, I don't know.
You guys are wrestling guys. You think everything's wrestling. So, I mean...
yeah,
man. The next one was the final episode. Man, it just dives into some of the stuff where it's the Benoit homicide, suicide, and
we've told that story.
We have talked about that before, obviously. And rest in peace to Nancy and Daniel. Just an awful time in the business. And then Chris Nowitzki was talking about CT and concussions and everything. Heck, I got to ask you a question. Like,
how are you not brain dead?
No, that's not what I'm. No,
dude, you guys know I'm half brain dead. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and
Simon Diamond.
Yeah,
right. Oliver's Ty's Plucky, my other son. You know what I mean? I just screw up constantly.
No, but mom does that too. When you have kids, you call your other kid's name. Yeah, he's going ass, cold ass. Fuck, like,
stop giving me less shit, Oliver.
I'm a total moron. Listen, you just got to get your weight restraint. I never got to know your weight. I never give you anything about the names because I just go with it if you call me the wrong name because I know you're talking to me. We all know that.
As somebody who wrestled for professionally and especially a hardcore style, have you ever thought about like reaching out to Chris Nowitzki or like when you passed and donating your brain to science or anything like that?
Yes, I am a donor.
You're going but like Chris Nowitzki especially, or anybody who does like concussion.
Oh yeah, my brain's going right to the Chris Nowitzki Foundation.
Dude, laughing at these guys are laughing at me.
Working.
No, but I'm just saying. I don't know. Like, I think it maybe should. I think it would be interesting to have research done on your brain, literally.
No,
I'm serious. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid or anything.
No,
but.
Hack's plans on his death. He's going to be cremated or whatever. He
wants assisted suicide.
Okay.
Because I think these guys got to know, dude. I don't need them taking care of me. I could literally live to be, because I have longevity in my family, I can live to be 90 years old and I can lose my mind tomorrow. I don't want some of these guys taking care of me. Kill me.
All right, well,
just kill me.
I understand.
Please kill me.
No, but actually is like a fair question, Hack.
What was the question?
Are you willing to...
I'm kind of like... Well, Tosh has asked it, but I'm kind of asking it too, like on a referendum standpoint. Like having your brain examined. Like, has that ever like crossed your mind? Like, in order to like,
I got so much CTE information right now. I take my organs. I don't know if you take my brain, do whatever the hell.
You think they're already on it? Basically, that like they like what they're gonna take from your brain. They already know.
Yeah, because it's so over the top right now in the with the NFL and everything like that. You know what I mean? Even with hockey and soccer and stuff. Like CTE is a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's starting to be recognized, just like pot is starting to be recognized. That's a real thing that's good for your body. You know what I mean? It's like science is advancing right now, and who knows what's going to be good for us next week.
The other thing about, while we're on the concussion subject, was the WrestleMania 30 match with Undertaker and Brock. That, to me, was... Okay, Vince said on the show that Undertaker never got concussed in that match. And I'm like,
Yeah, he said he thought it was because he was in shock of
losing the streak?
I don't know, but the spot that they showed didn't really look like a concussion spot to me.
It didn't, but if you go back and watch that match, you can see, I forget which spot it is where The Undertaker gets concussed on. I think it is like a suplex. And the match totally goes off the rails after that point. So
like as bad as him and Goldberg in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, like it goes off the fucking... That match, the WrestleMania 30 match, is horrible. It's a really bad match. It has a great historic ending and all, but I thought that was really weird that Vince said that, and Undertaker's reaction to it was like, he didn't really like fight back all that much about it. It was just that was a weird portion of the show for me. I don't know.
I don't know if he knew Vince's comments. Did he?
He
know?
did. Yeah, they said Vince said that you weren't concussed.
Oh, okay.
And he was like,
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
okay.
it was like, I don't know. That was very strange to me.
Oh, I want to bring up the Vince thing. Did anybody catch it? That when they're asking Vince about the him angle with the one girl, and Paul Heyman goes and Paul
Off camera.
Yeah, Paul Heyman off camera says, "Oh, storyline," and Vince goes, "Chill out." We're like, I had to rewatch it like 3 times. Vince goes, I sent it to you guys right before it happened today when we were watching.
It was the Ashley Massaro.
Whatever it was.
I believe it was the Ashley Massaro.
And then Paul's like, oh, the TV angle or whatever. And Vince is like, chill out.
And Ashley,
I missed that.
Ashley Massaro's story, which is horrific, was that she was over on a USO tour and was sexually assaulted by somebody in the military, and then WWE, upon hearing...
That's not what I'm talking about.
I believe
just so you know, but say that. That's important.
Okay, yes.
That a guy did... I don't even know what under the guise of a military doctor is. Like, that's weird saying
So
to me.
she was dehydrated or not feeling well on a USO tour and went to like a military hospital. And then while she was there, was drugged and sexually assaulted. She told people about it on the tour with her, and then told...
I know. I've talked to people about it.
And then told WWE officials about it, and... because they didn't want to jeopardize their relationship with the military and the USO.
Get paid a lot of money.
And just wipe it under the rug. And it's horrible. And then on TV, they try to humiliate her as a character.
I've never heard of a wrestler disbelieve that story. And I've talked to a bunch of people. Especially, I was at a convention when the day after it happened. And it was like the big talk of the convention.
Wow. Oh, man. Horrible stuff, man. Again... just a culture of just negative
shit.
All right,
hold on. Let me go to my 6.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the first episode.
Taker lands on his head. Did you see that, Ty? He does...
they were doing the highlights of, like,
You're talking about the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match where he does the dive out and he's supposed to hit the cameraman and he misses?
Yeah.
And hits right on his head.
Oh, right, lands right on his head.
Yeah, that was their first WrestleMania match, which was like the...
Dude, I don't know how that didn't break his neck.
I have no idea.
Put him in a hospital forever, for life. Dude, that was sick.
Yeah.
It's like sick.
It's one of the most insane bumps ever.
And the same when Billy Gunn drops freaking Chris Benoit on his head.
Horrible.
On the chair.
Yeah, brutal stuff.
Yeah, a couple. The drug policy, man, and my question mark.
Okay,
bullshit.
talk to me about the drug policy.
Listen to me. The drug policy was for if they wanted to fire you. That was it. If you don't believe that, every top dude in that, except maybe Rey Mysterio or them, there's the obvious guys. Like everybody would know now. Sami Zayn ain't on steroids.
Well, Rey was back then. I would say
I know,
he was pretty big. Dude, he was swole back for Rey. I know he's for Rey Mysterio.
I don't know. Was he at that point?
I know, but he was.
Dude, I know Benoit was jacked out of his mind.
Oh my God, his traps back then
were jacked out of his mind back when I was there.
He has like the little T-Rex arms and everything. I mean, oh my God,
dude, he was freaking jacked. Yeah, so the drug policy is if they wanted to fire you, they would use it. Because some guys, they would be like, oh yeah, I got fired. Well, I was like, well, when they say the drug thing happened, they're like 3 months ago. I'm like, why didn't they fire you 8 days later? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's to use whatever you want. Oh, and then
wait, hold on. I got a question about the drug policy. How often would they test you?
I probably got tested twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
And did they test for? They tested for weed at that time?
I didn't care.
Did you get fined? Because I know a couple wrestlers were like, I know a couple wrestlers were like, I've heard them talk about it before. Like you would get a weed fine. They wouldn't suspend you for weed, but they'd give you a fine.
Nah, I told Johnny, he said, like, dude, I'm gonna come out hot for potty, so don't worry about it. I mean, you know, because he was the only guy. I wasn't talking to Vince. Johnny was the highest guy up in the company that I would have a conversation with every Monday night, or Monday afternoon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that'd be the perfect guy to go to. He's like, yeah.
Which goes to show that, like, the whole RVD and losing the belt situation is that nobody cared that he was smoking pot.
He had already failed pot
They just cared that he freaking got caught.
Yeah,
and it was going to get put in the news.
Complete BS.
Dude, I know, but that accelerated the end outcome of ECW in WWE. You know what I'm saying?
It gave the haters a reason to hate.
Exactly. Freaking, and then they got the next night, they put the belt on the show. You know what I mean? The next week, I'm wrestling the show. Yeah, but that's just stupid. The Kurt Angle freaking glass thing with freaking oh my god,
2001 King of the Ring.
Dropping him on his head.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, he couldn't get him to break it.
Well, the heat's on the glass dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or, dude, if I'm doing that spot, I'm checking it out before I do it. Especially up there, you know what I mean? They got $1 zillion behind the company. I'm going to see what it takes to put something through that glass before I go do it. I plan to do it to a guy 3 times that night.
Right.
How about the Viagra on a pole match?
That's even great.
I was thoroughly shocked.
You never seen that before?
Kidman and Shane. Because all that's kind of happening is like I'm like still like 4.
I was born in '98.
Okay,
So.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
no,
it's
no,
like
yeah,
I
that's
don't even like. I'm like, wow, it was that bad.
It was that bad. It was that bad. Yeah, it was that bad. It really was. 2000 WCW, as bad as 99 WCW was, pictured 99 WCW on crack. Like, that's how bad 2000 WCW was. It was so bad.
Man.
It was so bad, man. It was so bad.
Oh, and then Vince's stunner.
Oh, God.
Austin's cracking up, dude.
What?
He's like, get over here. Get over here.
What the heck was that?
I don't even know if I could have did it if I was Austin.
But it's
He's
such
like...
He's the only guy that took a stunner backwards.
Yeah.
Like, he just like welded backwards.
It's like, how did he fall from the boot? He knows you don't fall from the boot.
Dude,
What
he
happened?
never did the stunner good anyway. I never seen him.
No,
Dude,
he
it's
never
easy as bump right to your knees, but he would always have just fall straight through it.
And Austin could never grab his head. He was always like bobbleheaded, like all over the place. Like, but it's like, dude, you've taken 100 of these, Vince. Like,
How about,
you do everything so great.
The one thing I noticed about that too is when Vince goes back to Gorilla and like all the divas come over to hug him. Like it was like, that was strategic. That was strategic of them. They're like, yeah, let's get over with.
Or
Vince.
maybe they were told to do that.
Yeah, they were
They were
definitely
told.
Yeah, they
There
were
you
definitely
go.
told to do
Why
that.
used to? Because, dude, they might have performed 3 hours before that and could be out of the building.
They ain't all set.
No, that was set.
Yeah,
That was set.
And Steve gives. I mean, it's a perfect, basically ending to a whole. You know,
All in all,
everything
great
else
job.
that happened.
Great
Yeah.
job, Netflix. I gotta say, all right, you missed a bunch of shit, but you know you only have so many episodes, so you probably got enough in the can to do
Ultimately,
another 6.
it wasn't like a hatchet job. It was a good,
No, and I thought Bruce saying that to me was the worst part of it when Bruce was like, "You didn't show the human side," and it's like, well, just because he did something nice for you and your family doesn't mean he's a good person.
Well, but it doesn't mean that we.
Seriously,
But he put that out there.
you can have good qualities.
Yes, you can.
And be a bad person.
Yes, you can, and I think that's the case of Vince McMahon.
Yes, but you can't make a general. No, that's Bruce's tone.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's
he
totally the line.
was just like, oh,
I
you
don't
guys
really
didn't
agree
do
with
anything.
him, like, either that it was like the whole thing was like a gotcha piece.
It wasn't
like,
a hit piece.
No, not at all.
To me, what a hit piece is when you interview a subject and you have the end point in mind already.
Right.
And when these people started this, none of those allegations.
Like Vince in that interview with Costas.
Yeah.
Costas had it all fucking
course he
figured
did.
out before.
And that was Bob Costas. I actually enjoyed him in this because Bob Costas is a wrestling fan and he was before.
I love that Vince put him over too for getting him.
Yeah.
For going, yeah, he got me.
And Bob Costas, and a lot of people don't know this, he was doing announcing with Dan Deerdorf of WWF shows in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they showed that.
Theodorf might have been. Dude, you guys have never heard a worse announcer ever. Football games.
Monday Night Football.
Worse than McMahon when he started?
He was so. Dude, Theodorf. No, I'm just talking about football. I don't remember him for wrestling, but oh my God, for football, he was so bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't.
Frank and Alan Dan was the Monday Night team. Those three.
That's right.
Yeah.
I thought considering when they started the interviews to what had and ended up happening, years later with the shit coming out about Vince, whatever. I don't think it was. I actually thought it was a pretty justified piece. I mean,
yeah.
I thought
it could have been more, but obviously, getting those interviews and things.
The more you get, people are just that's lost in the details. You know what I mean? You got to keep it up front here, like in the surface area.
I think it could have been longer. I think
almost. I think
almost
after,
6
Sure, they got hundreds of hours.
I know, but 6 episodes almost wasn't even enough.
No, but I think after these allegations and everything came out, they're kind of like, and then they're doing this, and then there's going to be a part 2.
Yeah,
I think there's going to be a part 2.
Is all the shit show that
when we find out all of these things.
Right. I think
we find out about the indictment.
Yeah.
We find
and
out
that
about.
would be smart by them too to keep some of that shit together.
Yes, 100%. I think once that shit came out, they were like, okay.
Yeah, because once maybe he's convicted, then people
there's more to tell here.
Yeah.
Right, and who knows?
And the other thing too is that, like, even though he's out of power completely, right? He does not own any controlling stock. He's not really the voice.
I can't wait till he shows up on Monday Night Raw.
Oh God, never! He will never be back again. But
yes, he will.
No, he will
never
not.
Say never.
He will never be back. And I mean, just seriously, just all those people he paid out, all those millions of dollars for those NDAs and everything. I mean, it's just like we will probably never know the truth, and we'll probably never know the true extent of his crimes or any of his allegations here. Because again, it's wrestling, but also a lot of this stuff is probably going to be sealed forever. So who knows, man? But I mean, overall, for me, I would say as a documentary, it was not a lot of things that I did not know previously. I thought it was very good, but I mean, it was a lot of stuff that like I've already known. So I mean, I know Ali, you said you really enjoyed it because there was a lot of new stuff.
Especially the first couple
rating,
episodes.
Please.
Number rating.
Number rating. Hey,
I mean,
Vince, so it's going to be 1,000 stars.
I mean, I can't if I'm going to compare it to like true crime documentaries
I enjoyed watching
or anything.
It though, like the way it was put together.
I enjoyed watching it.
Like that.
I love the Jinx with Robert Durst. You guys ever watch that one? And I also love
Durst is good.
I also love OJ Made in America. I thought that was like the best true crime documentary I've ever seen. Like that was so comprehensive and it had all the layers and everything, and it told the complete story and like the why behind it and stuff. So like this to me didn't reach like those levels. I would give it like a 3 out of 5, I guess, something like that. I don't know.
You're like 3.5.
I'm giving it an 11.
Okay, Ty.
Yeah, I would say I would say if Oliver said like a 4.5, I would say fine because it's a lot of new information that he's gathering. It's all about what you know, what you don't know. I would say about a 3 because I knew about majority of the stuff. The early stuff I didn't know, but I thought it was well done and. I have no complaints. I was still extremely entertained throughout the whole thing. So
yeah, and I mean, I think like going through the allegations and the history of the company and everything like that, it's certainly interesting. Like anybody who like enjoys wrestling or enjoys the history of it, and
the best part about it is just going back and watching like all the great moments that happen in wrestling and everything that you've gotten from it.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like this time that we're in right now, where you're finding out a lot of like horrible things about people that you might enjoy, like the work of and stuff. It's like it's difficult for all of us, but you have to navigate it through your own morals and things like that. So I mean, just take in information and process it however you want to. But next week on the show, we are going to be covering WWE Bad Blood from Atlanta, Georgia. Got an interesting card there. Can't wait to review that next week with us. As always, send in listener questions to sandmanpod@gmail.com. Hack always requests you got to leave us a name and a town. So everybody this week, you guys did leave a name and a town. So thank you. And
for next week, name, town, and how much you weigh.
Oh, weights here, 160 pounds across the board.
Prove it.
Simon Diamond writes in from Bob from Broomall writes in.
Bobby!
Sand and the Hackers. I'm sure you watched the Vince doc by now. Hack, if you were interviewed for this doc and they asked for your thoughts on Vince McMahon, what would your soundbite be?
He's the greatest promoter ever.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, that's it. Thanks, gents. Owen in Wisconsin writes in, hey guys, love the pod.
Have some cheese.
Legitimately laugh out loud multiple times per episode when Hack can't breathe after laughing. Look forward to it every week. Was mentioned in one of the episodes, but does Hack have any memories or thoughts on working at the Rave in Milwaukee? I know they ran a couple of shows there in 2000 as they expanded the East Coast. I used to work security there in college, and such a cool, old, creepy building. Thank you again. Keep up the laughs.
Wasn't Hardcore Heaven there?
It was Hardcore Heaven 2000, yes.
No, I don't remember it all. So, but write us back and give me some more details, and that might.
I was gonna say,
in.
if you give him like a specific match or
Something, yeah.
something that you remember, it might jog his memory to, where he can give you a better answer.
All right, yeah. Get us back next week.
It's a sweet
Owen.
building.
It was a cool building. We really enjoyed that. We actually put over the venue on the show when we were reviewing.
Yeah, that was okay. That was the one with the
Yeah.
the lining.
When Mom took the pile driver through the table.
Yeah,
That's
from-
the building
from
that
that-
we're talking about.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I remember that match that night, and I got the belt and lost it. Oh, darn, for the 5th time.
No, you weren't. You didn't win the belt that
the
night.
Yes, I did.
No, not that
No, you
night.
didn't.
Wait
Not
a
that
minute.
night.
I thought I
here we
won.
go.
Wait,
That's
I thought
another
I won
night.
the belt in the 3-way with Justin and what's his name?
Different night.
Yeah, that's a different match.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in Hammerstein.
See, dude,
That's-
I need
that's-
a lot more details.
That's why we got
Okay.
the hack checker here. Ollie had to hack check him. Doug, the professor, writes in from a hurricane.
But it's bad if he doesn't even have to get on the computer to hack check me. It's like one that he knows that I always screw up. It's like, it's like in his Rolodex.
And you wonder why we always give you shit now, and you get pissed.
I didn't even hear the Seth Joyner soundbite, and I knew it was wrong.
There we go.
Wow.
There we go. The Jordan Davis. Yeah. Jalen Carter.
I didn't even need a scale to tell that Simon Diamond was over 160.
Seth Jordan, I love your show, dude. Oh my God, I love how real you are.
And please coach the defense.
Seriously.
Doug, the professor, writes in from a hurricane-battered Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Wow, dude,
Yo,
sorry.
Seriously, everybody out there who's
Yeah,
been affected
God
by the
bless.
hurricane.
You know, wait,
I hope
real
you're all right,
quick.
brother.
You know what I read a little bit before we started the show was that we've already spent, like FEMA has spent $6.9 billion, their whole budget already on the border. That's why things aren't getting tended to so fast from the hurricane.
Well, I would say for anybody out there, if you can, please donate some money or anything to the Red Cross. Obviously, people
Please.
are in need throughout the country.
And move north.
Everybody in the
man.
Carolinas,
I hope
Tennessee.
everything gets better for you. God bless.
Absolutely. Our thoughts are out there for everybody out there. So he writes in, I love the history stuff, as I'm a total nerd, but actually, your imperialism comment is a bit off. The old quote about the sun never setting on the English Empire makes a lot of people think they colonized basically every country.
Not every.
Well, this is the professor.
But I said not most of the planet.
The professor's writing in here. Let's look at the professor.
Yeah, but all right, dude. Tell me what PhD you gotten from what school next week. Let's hear the rest.
All right, here's the rest of his quote here. The sun never setting on the English Empire makes a lot of people think they colonized basically every country. The Dutch actually controlled South Africa. If you remember the wrestler Colonel De Beers, name taken from the Diamond Company in South
Great
Africa.
point.
At one time, he played a pro-apartheid mercenary type guy
Good point.
who had the handlebar mustache, beret, and fatigues.
Oh, that mustache was God. The catcher for the team has one now, Ty, almost.
Jake Rogers for the Tigers.
He's got a mustache like that.
Tigers are on a roll, man. Normally, I'd include a question, but I think Hack will appreciate my Shane Douglas explanation, though I could type a lot more in an effort to recreate a lecture for you if you want me to next time. I know how much Hack loves Shane's dissertations. So that
Nah,
was...
just drop the mic on his ass.
Yeah,
bitch.
he just- yeah.
I will yield.
He's never admitted Listen, I'm telling you
who was
something.
that? Who was that again?
Doug the
I
professor.
knew you
Doug
would
the
love that.
professor.
Not to be confused with the Professor Mike Tanay. Doug, you are...
Or the professor from N1 Street Ball.
Listen, yes, Doug You are the official historical professor of the Sandman podcast.
You're hired, Doug.
You are hired.
You are hired.
Check.
You are. Anytime Hack goes on a historical tangent, we know the wrestling, but we need your expertise to get him in check for these historical factoids. So thank you, Doug, for your work here today.
And we are officially going to have Doug the Professor merchandise on sale coming soon.
Yes.
Yeah, but Doug, also remember that the French owned was controlling all of Morocco and Libya, I think, back then. Too.
Doug.
That was basically all of North Africa right then. Check back in with us, Doug. Love it.
Thank you, Doug. Drummy from Bryan Street Tavern writes in.
Drummy.
Yo, Sandy, what's up, bud? Pretty good podcast so far. I know.
Just pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's been great, Drummy. So you might have been drinking a little too much. What's that tab at, bud? I noticed you've been making picks in college football. 2-0 this past weekend. I got to put you
The
over
only
that.
one that noticed, apparently.
Yeah.
Everybody just fast forwards through that part of the show. Axe picks fast forward.
No way. They can give us some real winners if they bet
Fade
against you.
Hack.
Yeah, fade hack still. Who are your favorite teams? Me and my bro.
Bama. That's it. I have one favorite team, Bama.
You're a Bama guy.
Yep.
Roll Tide. I mean, they certainly. That game on Saturday was awesome, man, against Georgia. That really
Dude,
got
what
good
a
in
And
the
they've
second
been my
half.
team
was.
for 10 years, 15 years. So
Okay.
I'm not a band jumper or anything.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I kind of am because they've been great for so long.
They've been great.
Yeah, I kind of really am.
I'm kind of not a band jumper,
I
but
yield.
well,
I'm a
I guess
band
I
jumper.
am.
Here we
Well,
go.
I guess I am.
This is the yielding night of hack.
Well,
here.
in Philadelphia, we don't really have a college team, so
Right.
you got to
Yeah,
jump
you got to pick
somewhere.
somewhere. Penn State, I guess. So there's a lot of Notre Dame
And
fans around here.
none of us went to college, so
Yeah,
if you couldn't already tell.
Me and my bro, old Chucky, are huge UConn Husky football fans. Would love to catch a game at the tavern with you sometime. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to a big
Okay,
episode
first of
next
all,
week.
wait, is UConn ranked now or something?
No, they're
No.
horrible. They're one of the worst
Oh,
teams
okay.
in
They're
the
horrible,
country.
and they're still
I know,
17-point favorites against Temple.
It says a lot.
No, but I don't know. But to me, I think of UConn as a basketball school, not a football
Yes.
school. Rocker.
Men's and women's.
Always have.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, always have been.
David, oh God, I mess this guy's name up every week. I'm going to give this the old college try here. Kafel from Armenia writes in.
All right, Armenia.
Armenia.
All right, wait, who's my professor? Should I give you some Armenian stats right here? Listen, a lot of people don't know about the genocide that happened in Armenia basically around the same time as the genocide was happening in Germany. Maybe started a little bit before. Get back to me on that stat.
Oh,
And
man.
Armenian Delight in Broomall is definitely a Ponzi scheme. It's a cover because I've never seen a customer
Oh,
in
that
there.
place never.
Whoa. Yo, man. Yo, we might get whacked by the Armenian
I know,
mob
but
here.
that's one of those.
Listen, if you don't hear me next week, you know why.
Yo, man. Yo, Ty.
I'm the one that's supposed to say stupid shit like that.
Hello, Hack and Friendship Team. Your favorite listener from Armenia here. You guys get better and better every show. While watching AEW last night, a thought popped in my head. What wrestling move or gimmick would you like to be banished from wrestling? For me, it's the Oz Cutter, Cody Cutter, Lethal Injection. This move never made sense to me, how you can launch backwards into your opponent and give them a cutter. Is anyone with me on that? Thanks, and I look forward to hearing your guys' answers.
I would say we're probably all with you on that. And to me, I would cut out having to beat somebody with hitting your finish 3 times.
You think the finisher
That's what I
redundancy?
would cut out. 3 times a finisher. Dude, it's a joke.
I think he's asking for specific moves, though. Any moves
Okay,
that bother you?
So
Any moves that just get to you, bro?
Yeah, well, what's the one? All right, Ty, go. You
So the Cody Cutter and everything, yes, that completely and utterly bothers me because everybody's waiting on a move, and it's very similar to a jump off the top rope because you're waiting, or somebody's standing at the ropes, running at you. Like, why would you not just move? To me, it's not the move itself. To me, it's the timing of the move, and if you're going to set up a move like that, you have to time it right so the person who's accepting the move doesn't look stupid. So everything to me right now in the wrestling business is timing. Timing is way off. Everybody's too scared to fuck up timing. They're super early. So if the Cody Cutter was done correctly, it wouldn't look as stupid as it does if
Yeah.
the timing's done correctly. So to me, it's not necessarily a move I want to get away. It's the timing as far as wrestling goes, and that's
All
just
right,
my
so
opinion.
really,
That's just my opinion.
he asked the question, and I couldn't give you a move. Ty couldn't. Ollie, do you have a move that you don't like?
Oh, actually, I do have a move.
Okay.
I know what Ty's
hate,
gonna say.
I hate when they send somebody over the top rope and then somebody jumps up and gives them a kick to the face. When they do the back body drop over the top rope and then they do like a scissor kick to the top of the face. Everybody does it. It's the dumbest thing in the world. You see it coming.
Oh yeah,
I got one.
I hate
this. I hate this. And I know he just got hurt, so I hope he's doing all right. But the Braun Strowman spot where he runs around and he goes so slow.
Agreed, totally.
I hate it. And again, it's like something you could see coming. I just can't stand it, man. That's like my least. And I don't mean to kill the guy or anything, but
I can't argue.
You see it coming, man. And he doesn't even run fast. I mean, he doesn't run fast. It's like that one gets to
I've
me.
never even thought about that.
They should go to commercial when he starts running, and then when they come back,
And we're gonna be in commercial break.
Look, he doesn't run fast, man. I mean, you can't do that spot.
Brown's on his horse. We're gonna go to a Taco Bell
it's-
commercial.
Yeah, there's nothing that I would specifically get rid of. It's like the repeating of moves and things like that is what I would like to see cut down. And like Ty said, like the timing better and everything like that. It's just overusing things or doing it's like people are doing forearm shot for forearm shot 3 matches in a row when you see it, and it's like, all right, guys,
it's redundancy.
Did
Yeah,
you watch
come
the
on.
match before you, man?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I agree. We talk about that all the time where agents are not, or producers, whatever they do for work. Heck, you always call them out as not doing anything, but it's like, I just think, are you setting this stuff up
to me,
together?
it's a worker. I don't know. I'm old school. To me, it's a worker's job to watch the match before you. To
True.
watch the match.
Yeah.
That's just.
Oh, we got to scrap this. They just did it. You know what I mean? Like, we got to do something different. Yeah.
Right. Don't do that. Do something else.
Great question, though, Dave. We'll try to give us.
Well, I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't watch. I would ask them in the back. I'm like, you guys going to go through a super chop fest right here? You know what I'm saying?
Or that, at least you're doing your homework. Either way.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I would ask people before me.
Kevin from Dayton, Ohio writes in, thanks for including my questions. Glad to see you guys squash the beef and kept things rolling. Simon Diamond getting back to you guys.
Squash the beef. Yeah, where's the beef? You sound like the Wendy's lady from the 80s
Clearly wasn't in
commercial.
Simon's shorts. That's where it wasn't.
Yeah. Where's the beef?
Simon Diamond.
Gosh,
Yeah, welcome to the party, Hack.
took me a second.
Simon Diamond. Here we go. Simon Diamond getting back to you guys on Twitter was hilarious.
He's lying.
I'm writing today about something I saw on Twitter. Hack, I recently saw you tweeted, and I quote, I like boobs on a Francine tweet. Ollie and Ty, can you please get your dad off being frisky on Maine, away from my girl Franny, and get him a Match.com profile? Thanks as always.
Listen,
There is no match for him.
None.
I like boobs? Hack, you're tweeting out I like boobs?
I know, it's just a screw with
listen, it's a
Franny.
work.
just a
it's
screw
a
with
work. Dude, it's a rib. It's a complete and utter rib
No, I
coming out of
know.
A lot
nowhere.
of other times she'll post a picture. I'll be like, how many filters did you use to get yourself to look good here, lady?
I know, I saw the one you tweeted out the other day. You tweeted out
Screwing her.
Unfiltered pics in all caps. You tweeted at her. It's like you busted her balls. It's so
Listen,
great.
Kevin, I can control them in a lot of places. Social media is probably not one of them. I'm trying to do my job clearly here, but
And the guy likes boobs, Kev. I mean, yeah.
He barely
I
knows
think,
what he's doing
I think he
himself.
likes ribbing Franny more than he likes boobs.
Yeah.
To be
Totally.
completely honest with you. Sorry, it's hurting your
Dude, I'm
your
over with
girlfriend.
women.
there,
I'll
Kev.
take care of myself. I don't have to talk to you. Don't have to buy you dinner. Don't have to do shit.
Yeah, Kevin. Take
Give
it
me
easy.
porn.
Yeah, we're getting them a sex robot soon.
Oh, dude, the dog.
One
The
that-
dog, and I wanted to
dog.
look. Yeah, who's the one Vince had on her all fours? I want a dog that looks like her.
Trish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's many dogs that look like that, but we'll see what we can do.
Andy Warhol's freaking toupee
That's
on
what you
on
want?
a mechanical dog.
You think
worked
about Andy
perfect for
Warhol?
me.
Heck. What's going on in your mind? You're.
We're going off the rails.
All right, guys.
Absolute power.
I'm not sure if the rails were ever on.
Hack, as always, the cane of the week and the toast of the week.
I forgot.
Andy Warhol?
No, P. Rose.
Pete Rose.
Yeah,
P.
that's
Rose,
fair.
that's it.
There you
That,
Hey, the Hit King.
You guys have to understand how important
Gotta
that was to
understand.
me in my life in 1980, dude.
You gotta
In 1980, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers, and the Eagles all went to the championship. Imagine whatever town you live in, every single major league team went to the championship,
Oh,
and
Boston?
only
Just
one of
ask
them
them.
won.
Huh?
That's all.
R.I.P. to the
Pete
Hit King.
made that possible.
There you go. Toast of the week, Pete Rose. Next week, guys, we will be reviewing WWE Bad Blood. We'll catch you then.
Peace.
Ain't it foggy outside?